Welcome to the Hawks Nest stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do thank you for watching as we're giving you a double dip today, 2 shows, because we got to cover some of the daily traffic going on. Part of what we're going to be doing this upcoming season is a little bit of an alteration change in the content here, and only when we got news to talk about. And today, the Seattle Seahawks had a joint practice with the Green Bay Packers. They come in a little bit earlier than you would normally for even a preseason game here on Saturday, get your guys prepped and ready, and then have them come out, run a real hard practice there with the team you're going to play, and then you go back out and play the preseason game, the third one, a couple days later. Now, this is a very small thing, I think, to the casual fan eye as far as what does it really mean having one extra practice against a particular team. But always keep in mind that there's this restrictions, limitations to how much these guys can be in pads, how many times they can go hard and at it in pads, and that you've got to really pick your moments as a coach to try to get the most out of that when you can, as opposed to sometimes going a little bit lighter. I think we've had at times practices here in the prior regime where you didn't do the joint practice thing. And when you then look to the week 1, week 2, week 3, sometimes the team didn't feel always, maybe from a physical toughness aspect of things, always ready to play fully then. And there, other teams have done a better job in that preparation process. I think this is a key point. It's a risky one because you always have a possibility of injury coming out. Or as did happen and occur today, you sometimes get yourself a hoedown, a brawl, a skirmish, a fight, a back alley brawl. That's what it was today. As Jordan Love said, it was one of the biggest fights he had seen of his career. And of course, I'm not going to think that this is a bad thing whatsoever. You just, of course, hopefully hold your breath in these practices for both injury, for both maybe the fact that somebody's going to take their hand and put it upside somebody's helmet and break their hand. And that's really the worst of kind of outcomes here. But it does speak to the fact the intensity was definitely turned up, probably on both sides by the accounts we're hearing, and that it's just fitting in more conjunction with what we've heard from the Seattle Seahawks team leading up and into this, being that the intensity is there in practices, that you're not just merely having these guys and training these guys, you're getting them prepared from a mentality standpoint about that thing that they call the standard. And the standard comes into bear in places like this, and a lot of fun footage to kind of watch coming out of this game a little bit. The snippets we've got, they don't give you a lot from this. You're not supposed to use your cameras, but those Packer sideline reporters were definitely putting theirs to use today. As far as notes go on the game, before we get to a couple of just little cut-ups of tape I wanted to show you, and this will be just kind of a quick in-and-out show today. I know I always say that, but this one will be, being it's our second show today. Shaquille Griffin returned to practice here in a big mother effing way. Shaquille had the joint practice to Green Bay, had 3 pass breakups and tight man coverage, plus jams, rerouting Packer wide receivers off the snap. Teammates were roaring for him. So I heard he made a play in one of those pass breakups down in the goal line, down the red zone. And then another interesting note here from Greg Bell, that's one that I talked about a couple of days ago, is a kind of a working theory your boy has over here in regards to the Seattle Seahawks defense. I'll be dropping a video over on the Clips channel tomorrow in regards to this, that I feel like maybe Mike McDonald this year might be channeling a little bit of his inner Buddy Ryan. That you're going to get a guy that has been living more often than not throughout even his NFL career, go to college, 4-man fronts, and a lot of zone coverage, a lot of off coverage, or it's a mix of off coverage where you get one guy in press, one guy off in off coverage on the other side. And I think when you hear Woolen saying he's pressing more than ever, you're hearing in a note like this that Griffin's up there pressing. This is just tending to just add more fuel to my fire of this theory that the Seahawks are going to do a lot of stack in the box this year. They're going to do a lot of pressing on the outside and a lot of playing man on the outside. Some of this, of course, built also from the fact you're taking Devin Witherspoon and you're moving him to outside corner. So it just wouldn't make a lot of sense to put him out there to ask him to then play a lot of zone when he's at his best when he's playing man, when he's at his best when he's up there playing press. And so I think that's what you're going to get. Just a little bit tidbit there on that, but good to hear Shaquille Griffin is rolling well. Nehemiah Pritchett's also ascended well in this preseason period. I think we've seen some more solidity back there as far as that's concerned when it comes to the, when it comes to the cornerback room, walking in when you just had sort of just Josh Jobe, and Pritchett was a little bit rough at times last year. You weren't sure there, but both of those two guys sound fairly rock solid as backups at this point. It's really good to see. JSN also had himself a really good day out there, strong day. Him and Sam Darnold seem to have really found a connection, and they seem to be really on that same page here early on. Sam credits it, talking in his interview, to the fact that they've just done so much work after practice on the sidelines, getting in lockstep in that way, and the way you're going to need to in this offense where there's going to be a lot of option routes. There's going to be a lot of both the quarterback and the receiver have to read it true and work off leverage oftentimes in reading it true in that right way, or working off pre-snap indicators in the right way. I think these guys are going to be on the same page in that way. And I think JSN is in, as many reporters are saying, for a really big year. He's looking really good and even a little more yoked up this year, isn't he? Like he had a little bit of some good weight on it. Mike Morris was the only casualty today. He did leave practice with what does appear to be a head injury. So that's not good to see, as we are looking at him, I think, right now as kind of one of those last edges that's looking like he's probably going to make the roster. You never can tell with this type of thing because Phil Ivey, I'm thinking about poker there, Jared Ivey, has made a really strong run at him, and he is certainly maybe has even potentially overtaken him in the way the coaches might look at this situation. But Mike Morris has been strong, and he has flashed in both of the 2 preseason games at moments. Maybe not fully all the way consistent in every turn, but he's big. He can be moved inside, outside. You certainly feel his size out there when he is aligned. So hopefully he bounces back. But unfortunately, it doesn't sound like you're going to get much of him then for this preseason game, which is this is the type of game where it's going to go to third stringers really quick. It's just the way that this kind of runs with this. So, you really want to get him as much run as possible in this game because you're still trying to quite understand what you got in Mike Morris. You think he can be a pretty good player, at least a rotational guy, early rundown defender, power edge, play the old kind of Red Bryant-ish sort of role out there, but you need to be him, see where he's at on that. You're just not quite sure. You have those flashes even this preseason, but it doesn't seem like I watch him in practice. It would be the same way where you notice him on one particular play, go, ooh, wow, he's right there. But then kind of disappears throughout the rest, and they're giving him a lot of reps out there. We'll see what they're going to do with him. I still think he probably makes the roster when it's all said and done. Darnold also had some good news on Tyrese Knight. They got good news. He was very nebulous in what he was saying was going on. He was not very clear on what exactly the nature of the injury was or what news they were waiting on for what it was, but they said it was good news, getting back into practice. Sounds like by this account, if I'm trying to read between the lines, Knight's going to be ready for game 1. Which is good and good news. That's something we're really worried about, but it does sound like he's going to be good to go there. So very encouraging. Another guy who had a really good day today was Kenneth Walker. It sounds like he was good on a few different runs, had a touchdown run, part of what started to cause some of the kerfuffle out there. Zach Charbonnet also broke off a big run in the team period. Might have been a long touchdown in the real game. And behind the play, some after the whistle action that resulted in JSN jabbing at Packers players' helmets. No benches cleared, though, so there's that. And that was really something you're hearing a lot about this day and what was going down as far as over and over again, where just skirmishes and fights. And look, don't get mad about it. Don't wonder about it. Don't say, is this a concerning thing? These are the things people will sometimes bring up on the back of this. And it's not. Even as you heard Mike McDonald's response, here was his literal response to this when he was asked about it. It's hard to tell what happened. Who said what? I don't know. Look, you want your guys to defend their teammates. There's a line. Whether we go past that line, I don't think we did, which is good. Our guys stay composed, but some of these things do tend to happen, and however it gets started, hopefully it's not our guys, but people are going to react to a certain extent. I think our guys handled it pretty well. And as much as what Mike's saying is kind of confirmation of what I'm saying on this, which is that when you see these stories coming out, don't take them as a bad thing. It's only bad if somebody does get injured or something. Aaron Donald takes off his helmet and starts wielding it around like a skith, like he's death himself. But if that doesn't happen, share of that, just guys kind of jabbing at each other and barking and woofing a lot, then that's not the worst of things to go in. If it kind of wakes you up, go on the road. I think it gave these guys, it sounds like, where they came in there a little bit maybe lackadaisical, and then you had to wake up real soon on the back of that. There was, though, good play from both of your 2 running backs by most accounts on this. Seems like the Packers were able to move the ball a little bit on the day as well. We're still getting sometimes a little bit of conflicting reports on this one. A guy that did pull in a hell of a catch today, and hopefully this is just a beautiful promise for tomorrow, was our man Elijah Arroyo. Check out the one-handed grab. Ooh, that is nice, huh? Look at that thing. Picks it right out of the air. Nice throw there by Darnold to recognize the defender's not looking back for the ball. That's why he doesn't make a play on the ball. So you might have tight coverage here. If you notice that, it is tight. This is a red zone drill. It's going to be tight coverage. But you attack the defender who doesn't get his head turned back around for the ball. That's what Sam does here. And Mr. Elijah Arroyo rewards him. Check it out here, a different angle. Check this one out. Here's the tight one. Look at that. Smooth. See the Packer defender nowhere close to making a play. He's barely getting his head around by the time the ball arrives. Part of Donald being able to give you a little bit of that zip down there by the red zone too with his arm strength. on those kind of throws in particular. It's got a little bit of that Hasselbeck thing where the arm's definitely strong in that sort of 15-yard period-ish, 15, 20-yard. Not that he overall got a good arm, but just, that's kind of like, seems like those are the throws in general where it's definitely coming out like a jugs machine sometimes. But a great play by our guy out there, Arroyo, making one-handed catches. He also did this in practice recently. If you guys remember, there was a cut-up of that of him doing it in practice. So that will be very cool to see come game time. I mentioned the brawl itself. Let's give it to you full speed, and then we'll give you a breakdown as to what I think happened, how I think it went down. Okay. So according to Zach Tom, who is the man flinging away there from the Packers standpoint, the offensive lineman for them, he says he was asked to according to Tom, his fight began with Jones entered Green Bay's huddle. So Ernest Jones entered Green Bay's huddle, attempting to go after a Packers ball carrier, but after the two had gone at it the previous snap. So that seems kind of weird the way that that's phrased and how that would have happened. Like he walked into their huddle to go after a ball carrier. And he says, it's already disrespectful that they're in our huddle, Tom said. And then somebody gets hit while we're in the huddle. Got to have some pride, And so then Tom was the guy that got kicked out of practice. He's okay with it. He feels like he backed up his teammate. If I give you guys the slow down, blow by blow, I've watched it a couple times myself. Won't go too deep on this one, but it's interesting. It does look like Tom's right there after Ernest. He's initially going after Spoon. Spoon's in there letting the Packers know what time it is. And then interestingly enough, as I run this at 50%, what you're going to see here is initially Tom comes in with kind of a cheap shot. I mean, he's the first guy swinging. He's the first guy throwing. That's why he got tossed out of practice. But then within this, you're also going to see Ernest Jones catches him with the one. He tries to come out with Jones two on kind of a glancing blow. And then Jones comes back and gives him a good, here you come, Charlie. Not that one right here. Here, you want some of this? Boom. He got him good on that next one that came through. I think he got it right up under the chin in a real nice spot too, or close there. He wasn't hitting the helmet, and Ernest is trying. You can see with the punch trying to get up into it. But what's also funny is then watch on this afterwards what happened with Tom as he starts back. As soon as that punch happens, he's like, okay, I've had enough. Right about here, he starts to say, I'm out. I'm good. I don't want to deal with that, another one of those swings again. But everybody's in on this. You got guys on the ground, guys fighting. Everybody's engaged. It's not ideal as far as would you like to see this every time? No, you wouldn't. But if you see it as a bad thing, no, it isn't. And nobody got injured, nobody got hurt. There was still some woofing going on the sidelines after practice where now the Packer players came back over to the Seattle Seahawks sideline and they were trying. There was this kind of moment there where something about to be something here. And it will be interesting because we don't play the Packers this year, but it would be interesting if we have to come back to play this team in the playoffs because there's just always is just a weird sense of rivalry with the Green Bay organization. I felt like this through the Rush years where it's just like they're just weirdly a nemesis-like team in a way that they, you normally wouldn't for a team that's out of your division. But great to see this kind of intensity in practice. Great to see there were some good performances as well. And I got to give a tip of the nod to Mike McDonald. I like a lot of the things he does, in favor of a lot of the things he does. And this is just one of them. Even the respect of he's talking about how to do maybe more of this next year, but be able to do it with multiple teams. So you get those multiple looks in practice. You can make these adjustments. I think this is very valuable. First, just running another padded practice at your facility. And that's that one for one, you're kind of giving up and doing that. And I think it's very smart for him to try to maximize this because I think it's going to better prepare this team to be able to play for game one, which is right around the corner. There was one here, Darnold pick here, which I will show you on this play. I can't do too much video. I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble if I do, but I'll just show you this play. Darnold just drops back, gets pressure off of his left side a little quicker than he would like. The throw's probably a little bit late, / if he had another second here, he's probably looking to find a bit of a check down. What happens here is Gray's able just kind of gets owned on this rep. I mean, he just gets out over his skis. As you can, I'll slow it down here. You can kind of see Gray on this where he's just kind of, he gets a little bit with the hands out over the feet. right on the inside there. And he's kind of, now he gets locked down, and then the guy just does a nice little roundabout move on him and gets around him, forcing the throw a little bit early there, and the safety closes over the top and grabs the pick. Also, maybe just a tad bit late on Darnold's part with the throw. But on the good side of it, check out Elijah Arroyo on the left side of the line of scrimmage there against Lucas Van Ness. I mean, geez. Elijah, I didn't know you had that in you. I was not familiar with that part of your game. Again, watch again here over on the left side of the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers. That's not a left tackle you're watching, folks. That's our second-round tight end. Third-round tight end, sorry. Second round tight end. Yeah, I got that right, second round. So, hey, a little bit of pass pro in the background, this kid, huh? Not too bad. Maybe he's got a little bit of this in his bag, gets right up in there. That's a legit defensive end he's doing that to, folks. Lucas Van Ness, a former first, second-round pick, something like that. So he's got some ability. It's part of the nice part about what you got going up against this Green Bay Packer team is that even if you're going to second, third string, it's a little bit like Kansas City, and that these teams that are perennially in the playoffs like they are tend to build pretty strong rosters, whether or not they have the star power or not. That seems to be the question at times with Green Bay. Part of the reason you might be hearing some of the rumors with them that they're looking at Micah Parsons and trying to offer a trade. I don't know if that's true or not. It could have been all just smoke, but reportedly they made the call. And so you are going to get a little bit of a stronger punch maybe potentially this week, especially playing out on the road, a good final kind of measuring stick to sort of see where you're at. You're not going to get a lot of your starters playing in this game, if but any. That's part of why you want to have this practice go heated this week too, is you have it as an acknowledgement that no coaches are really playing their guys in the third preseason game. It's a de facto like the fourth preseason game used to be. And so that's been another one that's been kind of removed as sort of that one of those padded points you could try to get more out of. And now it's more of let the back end roster guys fight it out and duke it out and get some final bit of tape on film for them to show out. And then, we just rest our guys and have everybody ready for week one. So a lot of guys are going to sit, but I think what's going to make this particular matchup for your Seattle Seahawks just a little bit more intriguing in that third preseason game, which would tend to be a bit of a snooze fest, is that it has been announced. Jaylen Milroe is going to start not a 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters of football for your Seattle Seahawks. That's right. No Drew Lock time. It's Milroe time, baby. Crack that thing open. Yeah. We're going to have some fun game here with that. Nice full game of him. See where he's at, start to finish. Maybe get him with a little bit more of at least the second stringers versus the third and the fourths that he's had at times in there. That's not as allowed for as much functionality of offensive play when Milroe is in. But this is great news from my perspective. I want to see a lot of Milroe here in this preseason, and we're going to get it 4 quarters of him here, starting out here this week, and I love to hear it. Cool to see he's going to be back in the fold in that way, not just the late third quarter like we've seen, not with just these guys that are having penalties every which way but loose at times and just not allowing the offense to be kind of fully functional like it was with the other first 2 quarterbacks when they played. But smart, another place, just don't mean to laud the organization every turn, but just another smart place here with Milroe. They've embraced the fact Drew Lock's your backup. That's locked in as we've thought for a long period of time. This is about the preparation process for the down-the-road Milroe, for the development of Milroe to eventually get him to his best self. What that takes, the plan, the approach, can you stick to it? Or do you diverge from the path every little time you get a little bit shaky upon it? And I don't think the Seahawks are in this one. They've shown right from the start, and they've been very concurrent in this. Here's how we're going to do with this guy. Here's the plan of attack. Here's his road to starting. It's not going to be this year. Good news is you're still going to get some plays in there this year, though. You're still going to get a little bit of that featuring. So we're going to get a full game. Enjoy this one. Savor this full game because you might not get a lot of extra other snaps of him outside of those kind of kitschy little packages that they run with him here and there throughout the course of this season. But that does make this a lot more of a funner game from my perspective to be able to go check out. And hopefully he's able to perform really well and just keep building upon what has been a very strong preseason performance for him so far. A good offseason, good OTAs, just bit by bit building up to that point of things. And that does lead us back over to the start of the regular season here, which is just now right around the road. I will be doing the live play-by-play of the Green Bay Packers game on Saturday. So if you're looking for a place to check out and see, have somebody, guiding you along through the path and you're maybe not local or whatnot, tune in here at 1 o'clock p.m. I will be doing the play-by-play. We'll be doing the post-game here as well. Throughout that, I'll be on game day of the game 1 as well, doing the play-by-play. So you can join us as well there. But A very interesting note as I'm sort of tracking game one. You're off in the distance of game one, looking to this Niner game, and it comes up on the schedule initially, and you go, oh, it's a top-heavy team that's a little bit older. Sure would like to catch that team at the end of the year. Twice at the end of the year would be best. When a couple of those top-end guys are beaten up and they don't have the depth to satiate the rest of the roster, and we can really take advantage. You get in week one, everybody's fully healthy. Kind of feel this a little bit about Pittsburgh too, to a degree. Not the best of times. Not the best of times. But then you start putting together the way things are sort of running as far as, the Niners' fate through this offseason and into this early preseason period. And you have Brandon Ayuk already out the gate, a guy that's been a tough receiver for the Seahawks to deal with at times in his time here with the Niners, who's going to be out of that game. I think that's, to me, Niner fans are trying to kind of talk themselves into him being the surprise week one activation. Here's him cutting out on a football field. I'll let you guys be the judge about these cutting abilities and whether or not he looks like a guy that's still coming back off that knee injury or if he's just right on the edge of being ready to go active. To me, looks like a guy who's still kind of carrying that leg around a little bit, who's still kind of coming back, making progress, but it was a gigantic knee injury he had. It wasn't just some small little, tiny little MCL tear. He had multiple things go on there. So he's not going to be ready week one. And you start to think about that, and you're not looking for injury to your opponent. You're not looking not to face them at full strength. This is just the facts of life. It's the facts of life. And that's that you're going to be facing this at times as a team where you do get the benefits with teams not always at their strongest when you play them. And so you have Ayuk already up on the shelf. Malik Mustafa, highly drafted safety by this team last year, who came out and he was a real, headhunter out there, a hitter for the safety position, gave him some dynamicism this past year in the safety where, they knew they were going to lose Hufanga. They lost him in free agency. That's one of your guys you're hoping to be in the replacement in there. Jair Brown hasn't really come forward for them as a prospect either at that safety position. But now Mustafa had the major knee injury at the end of the year. He's out. So, boom. Okay, you're down two. Dominic Pooney, maybe the best rookie offensive lineman in the league last year, or one of them. I mean, not the best, but one of them. In that solid right from day one with them as a right guard, or helped to steady the ship on that offensive line because it was really Trent Williams and a bunch of kind of sometimes nobodies out there. He's injured. He looks like he's going to probably miss the game, or at the very least not be anywhere near 100% health. And then we get to the 49ers wide receiver room. We got Jacob Cowing. Re-injures his hamstring August 20th. Probably going to be hard for him to get back to the Seattle game. It tends to be a 3 to 4 weeker. If he is he at 100%? With hamstrings, you just have to have those guys sit and wait and rest. There's no way to really have him do much active rehabilitation. So he's probably missing from this. The Niners also had Demarcus Robinson, the guy that they took this offseason partly with the intention of knowing that you were going to have Brandon Ayuk probably sit through the first 6 weeks of the year. And if that was going to be the case, you were going to hope this guy you could lean on him for the production at that point that you were going to be missing from Brandon, at least a little bit. He wasn't going to, of course, completely supplement it, but he was going to be able to at least kind of tick away at it, take a chunk out of it, if you were. He's going to be missing the first 3 games of the season. And then we get to another one today. It's one a day for the Niners when it comes to their wide receiver room. And frankly, a positional group that at this point, we've got to start to wonder about the curse factor entering into play. We got to really start to give it some strong potentiality of being what's going on here at play. I don't know what Seahawks fan did it. I don't know which of you out there is doing some Santeria stuff, but goodness, somebody is. So Russell Gage, another one of those solid, steady, veteran-type guys you can kind of just rely on, maybe not going to give you upper-level play, but functional guy for the position if you're caught in a bind and you're needing to kind of fill out the ranks a little bit. Boom, he goes down. So Niners, there's other injuries on top of this. Garendo might miss the game with the Seattle Seahawks. They're back up to Christian McCaffrey. A lot of that running back room is beaten up too. I think even maybe Jordan James, the kid they took, if I'm not mistaken, but that one I'm more guessing on. So it's a lot of that to one side of the ball you're looking at, and it's heavily so here. They had made a trade of Sky Moore, former second-round pick who just never developed, and boy, his hands went into the toilet for the Chiefs, where he just at the end of that time there didn't seem to be able to catch a cold, but he had a punt return against your Seahawks for a touchdown last week, and that was good enough for the 49ers to be like, he'll save us. He'll get this. He'll make this happen. But the bottom line is the Niners are going to be walking in that game down Ayuk, down those receivers I mentioned. And oh, by the way, Juwan Jennings has been essentially a hold in with a calf injury throughout training camp. Maybe he just activates himself on game one. But like I said last year about this to the Niners situation, and I was proven ultimately true beyond all measure. You can be that whole guy who operates as a vet saying, I don't need training camp. I'm old enough now. I've been through the punches and all that stuff. I'm good, man. Just get me there game one. I'll get the tape on my fingers. I'll be good. Good to go. No problem. Yeah, really? How'd that work for Trent Williams last year? How'd that work for Brandon Ayuk last year? Trent Williams said openly he was not at his best last year. Openly that the lack of training camp made it harder for him to perform at his best. Part of the reason probably why he's been at all the OTAs and he's been out there practicing like a madman this offseason, as he sensed that he needed that. Ayuk from the same point, doesn't practice throughout that time. Look, would that hit have happened whether or not he was practicing or not? Maybe not. Would his reactions times maybe been just a half a second faster, had he? We don't know. But I do know that was my prediction, is that these two guys with this amount of training camp you've missed, coming back in, trying to play game one essentially, doesn't kind of work that way. You need training camp. Training camp is there for a reason. Players don't like to believe that all the time, where it's like, no, I don't need it. No, you do. You do. Just like the Seahawks today need that practice to help prepare themselves for the season, especially from kind of that toughness angle. Here's what's like coming in a house, and it's a place where you're unfamiliar territory, and you go, how are you going to react to that? So the Niners with Juwan Jennings, maybe he's ready game one there to come back in. I can't see him being just 100% of what you get of a prime Juwan Jennings, even if he is at that point. But the Niners are not walking into this game anything but limping on in. And the Seattle Seahawks definitely have now been able to potentially really catch them vulnerable here into this game one. And hopefully they can take advantage. Hopefully they're ready to do it. I think they will be. But interesting to track this Niner opponent for that week one battle and know that, man, they're not going to be anywhere near full strength. I mean, we might find by the end of the year they're more at the full strength than where they start this thing out. Though again, you do have that aging roster, and you never know when that age is going to really hit. And as they say with Father Time, he is undefeated. I thank you guys for watching today. If you can for me, please do hit that like button. We're not going to probably do a super expansive long show. I know I often say that, but probably going to be just kind of an in and outer here with you guys today. I just wanted to cover a little bit of that training camp practice and what's what and who's who and what went on. I was kind of stoked by it. It got me jacked up. I'm watching them out there. Ernest Jones out there. What? Oh yeah, you like that? How about that? Oh, how about another one? How about another one? Oh, you gonna run? Don't run. Don't run. I like that. I like that. Mark Sanchez, thank you for the $2 donation, Mark. Excited to see Jaylen Milroe for an entire game. Go Hawks. That's right. Starting the whole game, 4 quarters, folks. You're getting all the Milroe action you can take. And boy, if he goes out there and throws for 300 and rushes for another 80, 3-4 touchdowns, running circles around the third stringers for the Packers, there's going to be a lot of fans out there making a lot of noise. I'll say that too. So, but I don't care. Have a good day. That's what I want to see from the continued growth, the continued maturation process, executing this offense, that you're not having to run him out there in these RPO looks and everything being on the motion out of under center, that there's some pure dropbacks in there. And there's, him going through some of the progression reading at times, just starting to see the little glimmers of that, the cracks of sunlight coming through the windows, so to speak, on that. And if that's the case, that's just that much more encouraging, Mark, for his growth in the long term. Micah, Pritchett looks damn nice at corner. He does. Undercut the route the other day for an interception in the game against, I think it was the Raiders. And he's looked tight in camp and been better in camp. Gotten lauded by the coaching staff for how he's played and how he's looked. And it's a good turn for us because there really wasn't, we got Griffin in here, who was probably as solid a corner as you're going to find on the open market to sign off the streets. But I don't know if there's necessarily going to be that trade out there for a cornerback this year if you had to call upon the depth that you would have had to call upon if Nehemiah didn't take this step forward, because it is very lean out there in the NFL right now as far as the cornerback position goes. Just not as many guys to pick through. Teams that have the good ones hold on to him. You get your J.C. Horns out there where, he's a good player, but $25 million a year. They're like, we can't let this guy go. It's that important. That's a guy with, I think, an ACL injury history too. So, yeah. I agree. He's looked good. Smeagol's, Zaubert's making it. Going to need some splaining if he does not. What the F moment there? Oh, yeah. Eric Zaubert's going to be on the active roster. I'll but guarantee you he's going to be on it for sure. I would be thunderstruck if he wasn't. Micah says, laugh my house off. You don't want to piss off Ernest Jones. No, you don't. He's going to swing for real. And he's not going at your helmet like some idiot. He's coming right up under on that chin. You know? Or that old Mike Tyson. Remember when Mike would do that? The super dramatic one. That'd be my move. Just make sure I don't hit that helmet. Megan says, love the passion, and now the Packers are crying. Don't dish it out if you don't want it back. I don't know what he's saying with the disrespect in the huddle. I don't see, if anything, when I look at this brawl going down, I don't see him over the huddle. I see Packers over on the Hawks. You know, you guys are over again on our side, if anything there. So his whole story doesn't add up to me, Megan. Things like you said, they got a little bit of the heat, and it got a little too hot for him in the kitchen. The flames licking, a little too warm. Riverside says, joint practices are dumb. I'd never do it if I was a coach. I get it. It'd make you nervous. It makes me nervous. But I think it is a necessary evil. I do. We might be the last Super Bowl winner back in 2013 that didn't do joint practices. Gatto says these fights will obviously so happen with so many young players going at it. Yeah, it's going to go down. It's an unavoidable thing. It's long in camp. These players are tired. Many of them have been away from their families. Their bodies are hurting. They've been hitting their same guys over and over again. Everything's a little chippy. Noah Conley says, I'm a Lions fan, but Seahawks are my second favorite team because of Kenneth Walker. I hope with an improved O-line, Walker can be great this year. We're hoping, Noah. We love the kid too a lot here. He is so much fun. I don't have to tell you that as a running back to watch. As creative as you will find out there. Explosive and as sudden as you'll find out there. A lot of ability that we've just not been able to fully kind of tap into, but I think we're going to finally provide him the scheme and the blocking this year, Noah, to finally open up some of those holes where you're going to be able to see him at his best. But thank you, man. Hopefully your Spartans are able to do some work this year. Megan, thank you for the $5 donation. Megan says, Milroe starting? Not sure I'll be waking up at 4 a.m. for it on a Sunday. That's fair. This is just one you want to watch this game if you're not going to watch the full start, but just watch it at some point because you're going to, this is a really good view into where Milroe's at. You're getting 4 quarters. You're going to get situational football. You're going to get him, executing this offense where it's being run very normally, and to see where he's really at in this, measuring stick of his process. And so there's a lot that this is not just a preseason game like others in that way. This is one where there's actually a lot of data I think you're going to be able to take away, at least just for him as this particular player in this game. Maybe not everybody else. Maybe there'll be a lot of those 4 stringers who don't even have a really good chance of making the roster. But I think there'll be a little bit there. There'll be enough there. But I get it. 4 a.m., it's a commitment, Megan. I can't blame you on that. And that's what DVR was created for. Micah says, Kubiak is a freak. I love the scheme. Throwback with all sorts of gap running plays with his own twist. He does. I was having a bit of a discussion with one of my commenters a bit about the, Shanahan scheme and, the little bit of the lack of necessarily success in the Shanahan scheme, and that it's built to be one that plays more for a head, which is a bit of a scheme that's built to be playing more for a head. But it's also one that, when you backtrack everything at the end of the day, whether a Shanahan offense has technically won a Super Bowl recently, it has been in the Super Bowl a couple times recently. And what we do know at the end of the day with the Shanahan offense is that it all goes back to the roots as being a Bill Walsh offense. And many of the roots off of this Bill Walsh one are just all this thing. They're all running certain iterations of the same sort of stuff. So, Andy Reid is a West Coast guy. He's a Bill Walsh acolyte. And Sean McVay is a Shanahan, technically, acolyte, right? Or a Gruden acolyte. And you can go down the paths of this where a lot of these roads all get back to more West Coast. And then the whole guy, what they do with the guys that come off of the tree of Shanahan is they all call them kind of like Shanahanites or, part of it. And it's like, well, yeah, they are, but all of them also do have their own things they do. LaFleur has his own operation, the way he runs it. Mike McDaniel, Lord knows, that guy does a bong hit and comes up with his own wild stuff that's very, very different at times from what Shanahan's done. And then I think the same thing's true with Kubiak, where, he's very much more cut on from his father's cloth. And his father took his own deviation off the Shanahan tree. And he's got his own little things mixed in. Like you say, Gab, for instance, which we wanted to see a little bit of the gap this year, especially pairing it with a guy like Charbonnet. And it's a really great counterpunch to the outside zone stuff. And so he embraces the understanding that I've got to not just lean on this thing I've inherited, but build my own thing within it. Use the tenets, but then build my own stuff and have my own, style and how I want to run it that's different and is what makes it unique. Yeah, Nick, if K9 can just stay healthy, I think he's in for a monster season too. Andy Arnold's has got a plan Spokane meetup to watch a game this year. I'm actually down in San Diego now, my man. I'm sorry, brother. Yeah, we maybe would have done it at some point up there, and maybe I could still figure something out with San Diego eventually. I'd have to go get in contact with the casino so I could stream out of the casino or something when we did it. But yeah, I got down to the sunshine. As Jim Moore says, we need to run the ball through the Niners' trash D-line. Another place that you get worried about with them in this game, as far as outside the injuries on the offense, is just, okay, you've got 3 rookies rocking into this game. And yes, granted, a lot of highly drafted rookies you're bringing in this game, but those are all rookies kind of across the board, shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. How much is your faith going to be really in that those guys game one are going to be at their best and all ready to crank it up in a foreign environment? Feels like that's a place that, historically speaking, with young defensive linemen in particular, they tend to take a little bit of time. It's just the nature of the beast a bit. Noah says Ricky White could be a sleeper at wide receiver. He's also a former MSU Spartan. He transferred to UNLV after his freshman year, but he dominated Michigan and won us the game. Good player. Very, very good player. I think he's got, if the receiving room wasn't as kind of strong as it is, Noah, if Torrey Horton wasn't doing what he was doing, I think Ricky would have a lot more of an inroad. Derek Young. I mean, some of this is not that you're stacking high-end talent in front of him, just that you've got guys that are just like special team maven type guys, monster blocker guys, in addition to what they bring to the receiver position. And that's the only thing probably limiting him back from making the roster. But I think that he is a very strong candidate to get up onto the practice squad as a development guy, Noah. And I liked his game coming out. He's a very fun player. And it's just his landing zone here in one just happens to be where there's just not a lot of, not a lot of spots. Everything I'll say too, with all these injuries we're getting across the league, a lot of our receivers might have getting plucked and going to other rosters because there's a lot of teams that are getting very thin in their receiving room right now. Robert says, I'm kind of thinking we're sweeping the Niners this year. We get them early when they're beat up, Herbicide, and then we get them late when they're beat up and old. We get both ends, the best of both ends, best of both worlds. Randall McDaniel, thank you for the $5 donation. Randall, I appreciate you. It says, warms my heart to see the boys out there scrapping, not taking S from anyone. Derek Hall, hot mic is classic. They're going to know they played the Hawks. Yes, Derek used a very hot button word that I definitely will not be saying. But essentially, Derek was saying, if I was to sort of translate what he said in more sort of, let's say, layman terms and not the actual verbiage he used, it was something along the lines of, hello, dear brother. And I hear that you're saying some things to me that I find quite ungainly. I find quite inconsiderate. And if you feel so strongly about this opinion, I'm perfectly happy to meet with you and come have you see me, and we can interact and have a cordial discussion later on off of the field. I think Derek was being very reasonable in that approach myself, Randall. Very reasonable. Again, this isn't verbatim. Okay? Just a little bit of a translation. But, in the heat of the moment, you're going to say what you got to say. You know what I mean? I don't think the Packers wanted any of that smoke. I'll say that, Randall. Watching body language. Leonard Williams over there standing ready. Nick Emawari over there standing ready. Derek Hall walks off and starts walking back on the field. I think that they just wanted to look like they were going to be tough walking over to our sideline. I think they felt like they had gotten themselves pantsed on that fight. So they're trying to come back over now and get a little bit of their dignity back. That's what I think was going down. Thank you, though, Randall. It's good to see you in the house, brother. Herb said we will for sure sweep the Cards again, 100%. Mike McDonald owns the Cardinals. Owns them. Smeagol says Niners are at absolutely critical mass at wide receiver. It's not a great spot. It really isn't. And critical mass is a beautiful way of putting it. It's one where sometimes you get a positional group getting decimated like this leading into game one. It's rare that it happens. Usually you have the opportunity throughout training camp and preseason to kind of, corral this a little bit and stop the bleeding and, protect some guys. But in some of these guys' cases, it's just one a day almost at times it's been seeing like. And you can be looking at game one where it's Robbie Chosen out on one side, Sky Moore out in the slot, and then Ricky Pearsall on the outside. Sky Moore on the outside and Ricky Pearsall on the slot, in which case, and that's in 3 wide receiver looks. But I would fashion to guess that the Niners are probably planning on living in 12 personnel and 21 personnel almost the whole game. They may never just even go to 3 wide receiver sets the whole game because they may not have the ability to go to 3 wide receiver sets the whole game. Our Bubba says, I would be shocked if the Niners or Rams have a winning records next year. Niners are bad, and the Rams are the most grossly overrated team in NFL history. Rams definitely get a lot of love, to your point. And the Niners just feel like, almost from like last season, as the energy started to turn off that Super Bowl loss. We saw this could happen. It happened with us, with our team back in the LOB days. I mean, this is the devastation of a Super Bowl loss. You climb up that mountain, you get past summit after summit after summit, Your arms are shaking, your legs are shaking, you can't breathe in the thin oxygen. You're just right there on the precipice of reaching the peak. Then you slide all the way down back to the bottom to begin again. It's like that video game where you got to do that with a pickaxe, and you just pickaxing your way up inch by inch, and then you do that wrong pickaxe move, and suddenly you're sliding back down. It took you hours. Same thing, I think, is that's more of a micro level, but what that does to your mentality and just what it takes to get there to that peak and what you've expended and the toll it's put on your body. It's not easy just to sort of bounce on back. And the Niners have had a couple of these swings they've had to suffer on that in that way. Nick says, I think we have a legitimate chance to surprise not only the division, but the entire NFC. We have 2 psychopaths calling plays on both sides. Kubiak gets this offense top 15. We're in for a treat. Agreed, man. Agreed. You've got 2 guys that are wired, like you say, very, very similarly. And that these are mad geniuses. These are your mad scientists with the beakers and the Bunsen burners and mixing this with that. And it's not just, here's your book. Carry this book forward, son, into tomorrow. And don't add anything to the pages. And they get that instead, and they say, okay, we got these pages here. I'm adding some more pages in. I got all this. Now we're going to add this on top of it. I'm going to keep adding to it. It says, we're going to win at least one of 2 with San Francisco. And by the time we play the Rams, Stafford will be out with his back. I'm thinking 5-1 in the division. We go 5-1 in the division, we are going to have a first-round bye. Bottom line on that. I love your prediction on it, but I'll say that one will come with the other, Chris. I love your prediction, but one will absolutely come with the other. You are taking care of business like that in your division. You are getting the feast factor in 2025. If you're getting the feast factor in the division in those games, what are you doing with the weak schedule on the other side of it? Yeah, you're absolutely carving up another 8 or 9 wins. Brandon Poyer, thank you for the $10 donation. Brandon, I really appreciate you on that. Very kind of you. He says, watching all of Kupp's interviews, I got to be honest. He is acting pilled out. What are your thoughts? Has me worried. Well, I can't say I know necessarily what to look for in a guy being pilled out. He just seems like a guy locked into me. And the thing with him, you got to remember, Brandon, is that he's not really, he's not really like an interview guy or a guy that's necessarily comfortable always doing that stuff. He'll do it when he's asked, but he'd as soon as just put his head down and just go. So there's this story, Brandon, where he was with the Rams. I don't know if you had a chance to check it out, Brandon, but check it out, where he's on the sideline at the end of the game. He's tired. He's exhausted. He just wants to get off the field. And the reporter asks him some kind of over the top question. And so he goes top rope and gives her the full, well, they were in cover 2, but we saw they're going to roll the safety up to a shade high position. So we then brought down the blah, 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 and just fills the reporter's head up, and the reporter's like, okay, we're going back to the booth. So I think he's just kind of one of those guys that is not as much wired to want to be in front of the cameras and stuff like that, and that he'll do it, but it's not something he necessarily loves to do with it. But no, he has seemed good to me, Brandon. I mean, when he was talking, when he was on that 710 interview a couple months ago, and he was breaking down the evolution of defenses over about the last 7 years and doing it so succinctly and so beautifully. I mean, I thought that was very impressive. I wanted to post the clip on my channel if I didn't feel like I was kind of taking something that was already kind of out there in that way, and so I didn't really need to because people were seeing it in force. But Kupp was pretty well spoken in the interview and what he was saying. So I don't know, man. I hadn't been looking for it though as well, Brandon. So I'll try to be a little bit more paying a little more closer attention to it. See if I happen to notice it. But thank you, appreciate the donation. Megan, thank you for the $5 donation. Megan says that was who cursed the Niners. B, got to have Jesse wear that hat, right? That was me who cursed the Niners. B, got to have that Jesse hat. Oh yeah, you've got the Aboriginals down there, Megan. It's like the equivalent. It's like the South American equivalent to Santeria. You got your own little voodoo powers you can pull out there. Just went out to the desert one night. I just see you walk down the desert meeting an old man, old Aboriginal man. You bring a little Niner doll with you or something, a lock of Brock Purdy's hair. Somehow you acquired. Don't ask questions. Got to have Jesse wear the hat, right? That's right, folks. I've got a bet with Jesse of Last Second Sports, the guy that I work with over there at NFC West Roundtable, that if the Niners lose, he's going to have to wear a Seattle Seahawks hat of my picking. And because I'm a bit of a bastard, I'm not going to have him just pick a normal Seattle Seahawks hat. I'm going to have him pick a hat with swag. It might be bedazzled. Whatever I can get on lids to add on the top of the hat, cost be damned. It's going to be over the top. It really will. So, and this is where I feel better and better about this bet. With every Niner receiver that goes down, it's a little bit of a, okay. And I could see Jesse was already starting to, at the show last week, go, yeah, it's probably going to happen here. But wait till you see the hat that I've got in my mind that I'm going to have designed for him, Megan. It's going to be over the top. 12 for life. Number one fan. Hawk logo on the front. It's going to be glorious. Bubba, is my religion if we somehow lose the Niners, just disband the team at this point. James Peters, Kupp. Oh, you're responding, Brandon? Sorry. Hawkaholic, let's effing go. I'm pumped for the regular season. Let's go, Hawkaholic. AI, how you doing, man? Why don't you just eat corn the long way and moan? Oh, Lord. Chris's needs to be an obnoxious bucket hat with Hawks patches and buttons all over it. It's going to be like that. I mean, I was picking just normal hat, but I'm just going to swag out the sides. And like I said, if I can bedazzle the front, I'm going to do that too. It's going to be just way too much. Wonderfully so, too. Bubba says, Saleh with the Niners had one good defensive year. It was bad otherwise. He's not an upgrade. They're casting their hopes upon his return being a savior. And like you, I don't know if he's necessarily in a position to be a savior there. I think he's a pretty solid defensive coach, but I think he does get spoken about in terms that's not exactly reflective of someone that's, he had a stacked roster. He has a lot of stacked talent in those defenses with the Niners, and they tried to do a lot of the same stuff there with the Jets, and it didn't work. So I don't think he's going to be an end-all, be-all either. I think the problem there hasn't been the defensive coaches for the Niners. The problem has really been your talent has just slowly drained out. It's the DeForest Buckner leaving, and Eric Armstead, Hufanga, and Dre Greenlaw this offseason, Javarius Ward, Jimmy Ward, all the Wards. It's just kind of one after another that they're sort of losing, and then they don't get a replacement in. They don't draft a good replacement. You eventually get left in this kind of situation where now you're leaning on the bigger parts to carry the day for you. Mark Sanchez, thank you for the $5 donation. Mark, the double dipper. Appreciate you, brother. Says B, since Ayuk will be missing for the first 6 weeks, they'll be using Kit and CMC more. Overload 2 injury-prone players. This smells great. Bon appetit. Exactly. This is not a remedy for the situation for them as far as long-term. It might get you through the forest there initially with those guys, but then you blow those guys out. Now you're leaning on the guys bouncing back from injury to be ready for you and hopefully carry you through with those guys gone. This is that push-pull of going from a roster that was deep and thick and wide to going to one that's been pilfered. And this is what happens when you have a long Super Bowl window is teams look at your roster and they say, we like that guy. We like that guy. And it's Derek Harmon, by the way, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, got carted off the field. Interesting injury to track for the Week 2 matchup against the Hawks, as they were hoping, I'm sure, to lean on him quite a bit in that game. But he was carted off the field in that one in Pittsburgh. Something interesting to monitor. But this does leave them in that predicament. I think you're living in that 12 personnel, 21 personnel Week 1, and that is going to mean probably a lot of CMC, a lot of Ricky Pearsall. And Pearsall's really a guy that you really just want in the slot, and you're going to maybe have to push him a little bit more to the outside. I don't think he's winning on the outside. I'm not even sure he's going to win all that often on the inside. I think he'll be all right. I don't think he's going to be first round all right. He'll be fine, Micah Montgomery echoes the previous sentiments, and I know Saleh is the most overrated defensive coach in the league. A lot of us are in alignment on this one. Nick says, I feel like we can overwhelm San Francisco Week 1. We have all of our starters. The offense has confidence. I haven't seen a Seahawks offense going into the season in over half a decade. This kind of offense, I think you had a word left out there. And agreed. Yeah, this is as good as we've looked, as well-oiled as we've looked walking into a season offensively in a good amount of time. And hopefully get the benefits of that immediately like we think we possibly can. Remembering again with Kubiak that he was able to get that New Orleans Saints team playing their best offensive football from game 1. He doesn't seem to be a guy that takes as much time to get his stuff implemented in full. Thank you, though, Mark. Appreciate you on the $5. Megan with another $5 as well. Thank you for that, Megan. Ollie's 6th birthday's on game day. If Milroe's playing, I'm choosing cake B. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. Hey, I can't blame that. I love me some cake. So that's if there's one thing that's worth missing in a football game, it might just be cake. But it's still a preseason game at the end of the day. It isn't one you have to watch live like a regular season one would. This is one you can watch back in that DVR and go through the snaps at that point. So it's okay one to miss, I would say, especially for you. You got to get up so bloody early in the morning at the 1 o'clock start times to get there that would be enough of a factor to probably push me into being like, I'll watch it at 8. I'll watch it at 12. We'll get around to it. Nicholas says, I'll lose my voice every game this season. My oldest daughter's now living with me, so will be screaming with me. Let's go, Nicholas. I want that stadium noise back this year. I want this back and bigger than badder than ever. Chris Griffin looked good today in practice. He did 3 pass breakups, Chris, including one in the back of the end zone, up there pressing and jamming guys. It's a very, very, very good turn of the foot for us on this in that department of things. One of those positional groups you're a little bit worried about coming into training camp. Micah says, totally agree, Brandon. Thank you. Thank you, Micah. Appreciate you. Nick says, I hope John gets extensions done before the season starts. Woolen, Cross, and Lucas, prices will only go up more than they already have. I certainly think in the case of Lucas, you got a potential to really get a good savings there. I do wonder if we might be already with the cart down the trail a little bit when it comes to Woolen and Cross, where the savings are not going to be as significant, where the price you pay this year is, if we're talking about percentages, I mean, we're talking about maybe, Nick, a 15% savings on what you sign those guys now, versus unless they go out and they just become complete world beaters. Woolen goes out there and gets you 10 picks in a year. He's resetting the market at the cornerback position. But if he goes out and has 3 or 4 picks, solid, he's going to kind of get about what you'd give him now probably. It does take him taking that next step to get him to that next contractual point. And Cross kind of feels in a similar place. Just guys that have put some hay in the barn already and earned already that reason to say, no, you're not getting much savings with me. I've earned a good contract at this point. I don't know this for sure, but that's a little bit of my guess on this one as to maybe what might hold up those particular extensions where John just looks at it going, yeah, I could do it, but if I'm not getting the savings, what's the point? Why not just get another year from cheap and then just pay the high price next year? We still got club control on both at that point if we want it. So you can franchise Wool, and then you've got the 5th-year option on Cross. So you still have leverage. We'll see how it goes, though. Lucas, you could definitely get some savings there. That's one where it's a potential. If he's healthy, he's good. Come back to him. It's like, hey, we'll give you a 3-year 30, and he goes out there and gives you the play of a guy that's like a $20 million a year tackle. That's where you're getting now 50% savings on the dollar a little bit. It makes more sense. Nicholas B., you talking about me right now. I'm working out of state, been working 12-hour days. I'm whooped and miss my family. Well, hang on there, Nicholas. Hopefully you're getting to the end of it. But that's brutal. Well, that's tough. And being away from we have to work hard and away from the family. Ugh. No, thank you. Hang in there, my man. Stephen Goldman, I'm so happy with this team. I'm looking forward to this season. Go Hawks. Let's get it. Let's get it, Stephen. Love the positivity in the chat here. People are feeling good about this team. HHGB. It was the Seahawker podcast who came up with this, so credit to them. Hololani and Oots equals Hall and Oots. That's pretty good. I like that. That's pretty good on their fire. Hall and Oots. CD, watch the NFC Rest Roundtable. Got to say, I'm so over the seeing ghost narrative. Darnold got pressured more than Geno and more per drop back and had 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns last season. Also found it funny the 49ers guy was like, I need to see something. Bro, was last season not something? Yeah, I probably didn't do as good a job, CD, in trying to present the argument back to them and the pushback in that way on this one. And it is Groundhog Day for me, where I'm coming right back into the roundtable. And like it had been before, we're walking in, there's this like narrative on Geno, and then slowly over the course of the season, I get them all turned into a better direction on Geno and their outlook of him, and acknowledging basically I was right on the Geno thing. And it's part of what makes it hilarious to me, where I get that they think everybody's going to think when a guy like me's talking about these guys that I'm just homering out on it. But you also, I think, get a bit of the benefit of the doubt when you are right about something and they were collectively wrong about something. And when it came to Geno and the outlook of Geno walking into the roundtable last year for the first time, the outlook was collectively, at the end of the season, by their own accounts, wrong in their outlook, and mine was right. And so that they're going down the same path again 1 year later down the same way, CD Woods, and that they're getting caught up in the same tired narratives that are chasing after Sam Darnold, to me, is kind of hilarious a little bit. I mean, it's legit funny, but it's wrong as well. And I try to get that across. Guys don't just like fall flat-faced into a 4,000-yard season and 30 touchdowns. The Vikings were not that juggernaut of a team that was just anybody you throw in there is going to ride on high. That's a team that gets the conference championship every year. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Said who win ever. No, it's not the way it is. And certainly we know McCarthy's not going to get the performance as a top 10 first-round pick this year that Darnold got last year from him. It was a legitimately good year, no matter how you carve it up, CD Woods. And to your point, the pressure numbers and the sack numbers should be the things that make people shut up about the ghost thing. Because by their constructed narrative, he was only good because Vikings, because Flores, because Connell, because this, because that, Jefferson. That's all the reason he's good. He was just allowed to succeed, set up in a position to be awesome. But if that's the case, why is he sacked more than Geno Smith? Why is he pressured just as much as Geno Smith? That doesn't fit up. That doesn't add up. That doesn't match. It's not like they had a top 10 rushing attack. It's a top 20 rushing attack. These are things that then speak to the fact he had adversity and was able, at least in partiality, to overcome that adversity, which a bad quarterback does not do. And I have said, and I was consistent about this with Geno Smith, and I think you got to be consistent about this with Sam Darnold as well, with that offensive line at the end of the year. No quarterback is going to succeed behind a broken offensive line. And I'm talking broken and injured. It's not there's not a guy out there that overcomes that. The Bills have invested in their offensive line. The Rams have invested in their offensive line. The Eagles have invested in their offensive line. We can go team by team, blow by blow. And over again, you will have the same story in place. There is no Superman that rises above that. When Mahomes had a great offensive line, winning Super Bowls. When you didn't have the great offensive line, you're watching him getting collapsed in Super Bowls. There's no outlier here to me. There's no Superman here to me. It's everybody that you put behind those kind of lines, maybe for 2 games, for 3 games, you will see an erosion of quarterback play. You will see the quarterback overwhelmed and without answers, because the quarterback is not a single player on the football field playing by himself against 11 other guys in the defense. It's everybody on that field contributes to that success. But I agree with you, CD Woods. It's another one of these ones where we walked down the road on. And I was initially kind of with them on this Darnold thing a little bit last year in my outlook of Darnold. But the point on this stuff is you constantly kind of educate yourself and look at what's going on and then grow your outlook on something with new information. And it's that year with the Vikings and going back and actually looking at that year and watching the tape. You're not watching it walking away going, wow, it's just so simple what he's doing. He's just back there just closing his eyes and throwing the football and Jefferson's finding it. That's not what's going down. He's executing the offense really well, at times at a very high level, and he's making as many high-level throws as anybody in the sport. We say that again, the people in the cheap seats. Sam Darnold last year made as many high-level throws, as is a track stat in the NFL, as anybody in the NFL. That's okay, CD Woods. They'll see the light here like they did with Geno. We'll get them to Jesus. It's gonna they take their time, like all sinners. They just gotta get that sinning out of them. Kendrick says, I know you briefly brought it up on the B&B show, but rumor has it that Green Bay offered 2 firsts and a second and a fifth for Micah. Do you think Schneider would do that deal for Micah? I kind of don't think so at this point, Kendrick. I mean, I'd forgotten about the quote that was popping up here earlier this week about John saying that he would never again trade for a player and then make him the highest paid player on the team. He did that with Percy Harvin, and you kind of quasi did it with Jamal, even though you waited a year to pay him, but you did make him the highest paid safety a year after. Like, I think John looks at that stuff as it's a little like the Malik McDowell thing to the Jalen Carter, Kendrick, is that I think that, and I think it's a good thing overall, but I think John's a guy that's trying to learn from lessons, and where he thinks he's made mistakes, he's going to course correct. You know, whether you or I think that was a mistake or this was a mistake, that if he thinks he believes it, I think he will very staunchly move in a different direction. And by my outlook with John on this one, I think that I'm going to hold him true to his word on this and say that he doesn't want to do that again. He'd give up the picks, but then he's got to pay Micah. And I think instead he would rather be saying, look, I'll give up the picks, but Micah, you got to play out this year of your deal. Like you did a little bit with Jamal Adams. And that's partly why you didn't pay Jamal Adams immediately as well, Kendrick, was the fact that the Percy hit situation had occurred, that had caused some disgruntledness in the locker room. And so you're trying not to go back down that road once again. So I think that's probably not going down. I'm not even sure, though, the Cowboys are really going to move him. It's all said and done. Callis says Jesse's extremely harsh on critiquing quarterbacks. Take it with a grain of salt. He's definitely a guy that, as he said, he's grown up on Montana and young, and that definitely colors your vision a little bit in your outlook of quarterbacks. How can it not? Little Lance, how you doing, man? 12th man, off-grid, Alaska. Hello. How's that going off-grid, brother? Well, Greasy, I like the way we're sitting in the West. Me too, man. Me too. Random McDaniel, thank you for the $5 donation. Just got my copy of the Hawks' new book by the dude from The Athletic, Michael Dugar-Shaw. And go out that, get that book, show some support and love to a local reporter out there, putting in the hard work. So it's going to be a great read. The Franchise. I've heard it's a really good read. I heard really well-read book by those that have been. I haven't had a chance to check it out myself, but I will try to give it a read as well. And congrats out there to Michael for getting the book out. It's not an easy thing writing a book. It's tough, even for writers. So pulling that off, getting that done like he did is very impressive. And hopefully, I'm sure he's going to have a mighty amount of nuggets in there that are going to be worth digesting. So thanks for the donation. And congrats out there, Michael. Well done. Very well done. Jay Melfair, my favorite part of last year is Minnesota had a great line until the last 2 games. The line was gone for Minnesota in the last 2 games, and Darnold struggled. So with the line looking better, Darnold looks fine. Yeah, exactly. And again, you encapsulated much more succinctly and better than I just did. But exactly that, Jay. Exactly that. Those last 2 games are just things went sideways in a big way. They'd already been down Darashaw for a while up until that point, but then out goes O'Neal. Inside the collapse of the offensive line happens. Bing, bam, boom. Darnold's getting hit almost every other play. Yeah, Brian O'Neal, the final coffin. Exactly. Brandon Poyer, thank you for joining the Hawks Nest Pro Bowl. You donated to the channel today and also joining the Pro Bowl. I really appreciate that. Folks, if you want to show some extra support to the channel and love, get a little bit of extra content as well. In addition to that, you can become a patron or member, as Brandon has been so kind to do so today. We'll be ramping this stuff up big time. I'm beginning a call-in show here at the end of the month, maybe next week actually there. I think next Sunday here as we're leading up into game week coming on deck. Be a good time to do a call-in show for members of the channel. So be on the lookout for that. We'll get not this upcoming Sunday, but the next Sunday after that, we'll do a call-in show here for members of the channel. We'll be doing Thursday night football. So watch along shows on Thursday night, hanging out. Please do join me in there as well if you're a member of the channel, and then we'll begin off PFF scores to you every Monday after the game in addition to that. So thank you, Brandon, for joining up. You can join up today as well. I can't speak all of a sudden. You can join up too today as well as either a patron or a member, and it is very much appreciated. Thank you for that, Brandon. Randall McDaniel, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, Darnold just seems like a professional quarterback. Looks and sounds like a leader. I think team believes in him. Remember, Randy was an original Sammy D truther. Now, I got to give you credit, Randall, and I'd love giving credit on this point, especially when people are spotting things far out and not kind of, oh, you happen to catch at the late hour when everything's obvious that this guy's awesome. And you were one of the forerunners on the Sam Darnold being a potential smart addition and a good fit to this team and the offense you're going to want to run. And indeed, I think that everything that you've seen with Sam Darnold since that initial signing has confirmed the way that you saw it in that manner, on that all the way through. And I especially think, to me, when I listened to Palmer, his quarterback coach that he works with, and he works with for years, and he worked with very deeply, and the process of the training process those guys have gone through, and where you take a guy from, rudimentary working on mechanics and all of that to then working on processes and reading film, and it's all about stuff that's off the field till you get years down the line. And as he was talking about today, it gets into things that have to do with exact style of footwork in this particular style of offense. This kind of drop to this kind of hitch, the exact ways called for it in this particular playbook, and that you're getting to these advanced things in what would still be an ongoing point of development, Randall. And that's the way you just get bit by bit by bit to getting to that place that I've called the post-doctorate work of quarterbacking. And a lot of times it's been the legends that have gotten there, be it the guys that are the Phillip Rivers, the Drew Brees, the Aaron Rodgers, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Bradys, the guys that are playing into their mid-30s at the very least. Mid-30s at the very least, it's still at a high level. Sometimes their best football at that age, because they've mastered things so all the way thoroughly through. Yes, from the neck up, and that's part of the post-doctorate work, but also it's that footwork that is second nature in how you run it. Something that 6 years ago you had to think about the steps going down. Now it just goes like a dancer. Like a dancer. You're not even thinking about it. Your mind's on other stuff. So he's getting to that place of things, having this many years in the sport to get there. And the quarterbacks that get there, we think of as being these kind of legend guys that do it. Part of the reason that they're doing it at that age is that they've earned the right to get there, to have the opportunity to do it. It's a lot of times the quarterbacking, and when you're looking at getting second chances, true second chances, it's about having an opportunity. Some guys don't always get that. Some guys do. I think we're getting more into an age where teams are going to embrace this more and more, and you're going to see the benefits in doing so. There's a lot of teams, I think, that toss quarterbacks out probably a little bit too fast and just don't want to take the time to really fully develop them right. Colts. But thank you, Randall. I appreciate the donation, man, and all of your support to the channel as a member as well. HHG, thank you for the $2 donation, HHG. Week 1, Mike McDonald's going to show Saleh what a real defense is. Be very interesting to see the plan of attack for Saleh, this defense, the way he's going to go about it. He has embraced a little bit more of the blitzing component, supposedly, though, at Niners camp. And what I've heard on their reports is that the only time that they're actually creating pressure is when they're blitzing. And I know that everyone wants to thank Darnold with the go stuff, but as was mentioned above on this, he did very good up against the blitzes last year. He had an answer for them oftentimes. And this is what, when you have a guy like JSN out of the slot, You've got the running backs out of the backfield. You've got some deadly hots you can throw to. And so just if they've got to lean on blitzing, that's the only way that they're really getting to the quarterback, because you can afford to chip Bosa because you don't have to worry about Michael Williams coming off the other side as a rookie starting his first start. I think it's going to be a long day. Also going to be interested to see if this team, being the Niners, are really going to still live in this sort of wide 9 defense on the front, on the defensive front, where you're stretching everybody out just so bloody wide. You could get away with that when you had Eric Armstead playing next to DeForest Buckner. Can you get away with that when you have Alfred Collins playing next to CJ West? I don't think you can, myself. So we'll see on that, HHG, but I love your prediction. I think you're probably going to be right on that one. Kendrick says, B, are you going to do the behind enemy lines this year? I really enjoy those. I am. Yes, I am. So Kendrick, I'm very happy to announce on this one. We've obviously got week 1 with Jesse locked in. It's not going to be any problem getting Cardinals, Rams, Niners, because I got my guys here on the round table. So that's going to be easy peasy. We got 8. That right there's 6 games knocked out. I've got a Steeler content creator folks primed and ready to go on that. And then we've got my guy Hoodie Jube. We've hooked up before. Saints guy. You're going to love Hoodie Jube if you haven't seen him on the channel here before. He's our Saints content creator guy that I've worked with, and he sounds straight out of the bayou. So he's just got the perfect accent for a Saints fan. It's wonderful. But those are the first ones I have lined up. The tough ones are going to be the tough ones potentially could be like the Jacksonville, Tampa Bay ones. The East Coast content creators are really hard to pin down. But the goal is, Kendrick, every Tuesday, if I can knock it out, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to get a behind enemy lines interview if I can do it. I'm really shooting for that. So I thank you, man. I appreciate that. I think they're really fun too. And it just gives you such a unique perspective because these guys really cover these teams in depth. And they know it a lot of times in a way that even guys that are talking about the team to you, they're supposed to be experts, don't know. Kettle says Jimmy Ward's been on the Texans recently. Yeah, he's been there for a couple of years. It was just that was the beginning process for them of that defense, though, starting to slide these guys through. And that's going to happen. This is the NFL, and you go through these, changeovers with your roster. But it's just that when you were so weighted defensively with so many difference makers and quasi difference makers, you lose those guys. Are you replacing them with difference makers, or are you replacing them with just guys? And I think that we saw this at the end of the Legion of Boom era with our own team, that when you lost your Chancellors and you lost your Earl Thomas and you lost your Michael Bennett's and you lost your Cliff Avrils, you really weren't able to find the answer all the time in the replacement. And that you might find guys who give you a decent play, but they're not difference makers. And then you suffer forward a little bit on that from the high water mark you had been at. Cedar Woods, I don't know. Saleh went to the Jets and took a bottom defense, immediately became really good. Elite one, just a garbage offense. Granted, he immediately got Sauce and others. Still, and I feel like the defense got a little bit worse as time went on there after he kind of got them bounced back there, CD. And I think we got to remember too with him is just that there was a sheer amount of investment on that defense that was pretty strong. There's quite a few guys that you'd put into that thing. So, and money, not just the draft picks, but the money investment in there as well. You're right about the offense, though. It's the awful thing you do to those great defensive minds when they become head coaches is you don't get them something that's functional offensively, and it just ends up holding back the whole thing. It's part of why so many people, I think, are just so hard-lined on wanting an offensive coach to be head coach at times, because it is the dark path you can end down when you get even a really smart defensive mind. I don't think Saleh is necessarily not a good defensive mind. I just think he is in that position right now where a little bit of the old skeletal structure of Carroll's defense in there, simplicity, not rolling the coverages into a different place, historically speaking, are those things going to change with him here with time? We'll see. I think they have to if he's going to find that next evolution in his defense. And I'm not sure the wide 9 with how much the running game has come back into vogue works as well. I think the wide 9 works great when you have teams trying to pass the ball 65% of the time. But if we start sliding back to closer 50-50 ranges, I think that's a defense with those natural gaps that exist in the wide 9 that can get exploited. Daniel says, you need to get one of those huge hats like Gilly D. Kid has as the base of the hat and put a bunch of stuff on it. I'm going to do that. I'll take a look and see if I can go find the big hat. It's a great idea, though. I'm definitely putting a lot of stuff on it. We're absolutely going to be a crap ton of stuff on it. Beyond Balance. Thanks for the $12 donation, Beyond Balance. What's the last time you can remember a fight in practice while simultaneously having this feeling of brotherly love, teamwork. Not ever, really, because when you had fights back in the day, I can remember Sherm going toe to toe with a receiver in one of the practices. It's your own team that you're going at. And it's more of you're getting that feeling of there's a separation on the offense and defensive side of the ball that does truly exist there. Part of this too, beyond balance, is that you didn't do these inter-practice scrimmages in the past with Carroll. He was very much against them. And so this is you kind of doing something that's a little bit new with it. But you touch on why I love it, why I'm jacked about it, and that like you have guys that are, standing up for one another. And you touch one of us, you're touching. I was about to say something that was not the way I meant that. You touch one of us, you touch us all. I didn't mean it that way. But that we're going to back our brothers, that this is a brotherhood we're creating here, that we care for each other that deeply, that we're not out here just doing our jobs, doing the bare minimum. And again, you can have times and feelings of this where you have these kind of practices and you don't feel like everybody's jumping to have each other's back. You don't feel that intensity. Like even it's the moment there where Hall's walking back and then he comes back and says something in the practice. And the players are all and then Leonard Williams is standing there, and Leonard talked about not feeling what they were doing there at the end, and MWR's right there next to Leonard, and they're ready to go. They're on enemy grounds there, and they're ready to roll. And I think that this is just part of what this team has been building. Not that they like luck into this or they snap their fingers and it happens overnight, but you've been building this process by the players that you've brought in here, by those players taking the ultimate ownership they have over this team. And going, look, we got to bring the standard. We got to bring the intensity every single week, every single practice, inter squad practices. It's got to come correct every time. And I think that this is just part and parcel of what you've gotten from them on that beyond balance, which is just, these are the DNA. This is the DNA of great teams. You peel back a Super Bowl champion. This is something that you will see in the fibers of their being. It's a necessity. And part of why you and I just love to see it. But I can't think of another time on that. I know after the Sherm and the receiver brawl, they end up hugging it up after it was all said and done. But, you always had a little bit of that animosity that seemed to exist between the offense and defensive side, even in the Legion of Boom days. You did. But it's cool. It's very cool to see. And Jones out there putting in work with those hands. Jones has got some hands, man. How about that, Beyond Balance? Thank you as well, brother, for being a member of the channel. You're awesome, man. Mark says, B, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, get a sombrero with Hawks colors for Jesse. You guys have got some great ideas here. Write down the big hat so I remember. Big hat, sombrero. We'll get that laced up there. Big hat, look at the sombrero. Let's see what we can find on that. I think you guys are onto something with the big hat, because then he has to wear it the whole episode. It's a big ass heavy hat with all this stuff on top of it. Jesse by the end's gonna have his head like angled like this, just barely holding it up. Great suggestion, Mark. I'm on it. I got to get this thing put together here in the week leading up. J. Melfair, thank you for reminding me of this. Says, by the way, folks, smash that like button and subscribe. Well, thank you for that reminder. You're awesome for that. I always forget. If you can for me, folks, hit that like button. It does help this channel, helps me grow, helps me show. And then sub on up. We're on the road here to 20,000. I've got it in the sidelines. We're getting closer and closer and closer. I can taste it. I think we're about almost 400 away here from closing in on that big 20K mark. You can help get us here today with subbing on up. So thank you for reminding me of that. Please do hit that like, hit that sub, and it is much, much appreciated. Kevin Klein, I find it funny. Someone picked a fight with Bradford. That dude is a yoked bear. Yeah, that's like the last guy on the team that I would be probably trying to scrap with. He's going to bring you all the smoke in there. And I've seen that man throw 330-pound men around like they were 150. And so, yeah, kind of interesting. Offense in there mixing it up too, which is nice to see. They're bringing a little bit of that fight and vigor as well. Sound like it happened after a Kenneth Walker touchdown run, which to me just speaks to just kind of sour grapes. You got your butt beat on the play. You're a little sad that you got whooped and they scored a touchdown on it on your watch. Okay, good. Good. Catalyst says, John Schneider will negotiate. That's why he picked up Cross's 5th year. Yeah, they'll get something figured out with that eventually on that. I agree. I don't think that it's one where he's worried about it. It's just the leverage. If you don't activate the 5th year option, you get through 4th year. Now you have to franchise him or not. And so you're not intending to have him play in the 5th year at that point. It's just that you don't want to lose him for nothing. And this way you pull him off the market no matter what, where negotiations go. And I think that that's where the team will go here, is that they'll have that as then leverage after the season to give him that extension, or maybe even mid-year through the year if they like what they see from him. But I agree. I think they'll get a deal done with Cross some point or another. Cal says, can't wait to see some zone read options with the speedster Milroe. Definitely going to work it in there. Definitely going to work it in there for sure. Megan, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, I do have a voodoo doll working for the Niners. Uh-oh. Megan's on to the dark arts. She is a Sith Lord, folks. Proudly won. I'm just saying proudly won on that. So Megan's got the voodoo doll working there, and it's maybe going to be putting in some good work for our Seahawks come game 1. Good stuff, Megan. Very good stuff. Thank you for the donation. Kate Lively, no one let Clinton know the Hall and Oates bit went over. Well, he is already too proud of it. Hey, that's pretty good. Hall and Oates. That's something I can appreciate. That's witty. I like that. Makes you laugh. You can't help it on that one. I'd be proud of it too. Nick says, Woolen on Sherman's podcast, and he had a different demeanor about him. Not just that, happy to be their guy he's been. They were breaking down the differences between Pete and Mike's defense. Yeah, I got the impression that he's got a very good understanding, to your point, of what's in his sight line and what he needs to do this year and what it's going to take to get there. I think it's a little bit of, at times, a bit of an outcropping of what you get with Bradford, where there's a lot of ability here. There's a lot of natural size I can't teach, ways you can move that I can't teach for your size. But do you want it? Do you want it all the way, all the time? Do you want it just some of the time? Do you want it 80% of the time, but 20% of the time you're catching your breath? Or can you be locked in every snap, every play in that way? Can you adopt the mentality it takes to get there in that way? It does seem like he has. I agree. I got the same kind of vibe off the interview. It's kind of a hard thing to place exactly, but I did feel like it was there. Dale says Kyler Murray had 137 yards and 2 interceptions in his playoff game, and the Cards guy was talking about Sam Darnold choking. Yeah, they were on one with that. I said again, I'm Bill Murray holding on to a groundhog in my front seat with these guys in that conversation. They're just going, really? We're going to do this again, guys? Are you going to do this again? Okay, let's do this again. R. Sanchez, thank you for the $5 donation. He asked, why hasn't Byron Murphy shown up? I mean, he's playing like 8 snaps a game. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Yeah, he's just not, they're not playing him a lot. He's getting like 1 series out there a game, I think. Let me double check here. Where did it go? I had the PFF scores here, and I can't find them. Disappeared. They're going somewhere. There they are. So, he played 10 snaps. He was graded a 76 as far as his pass rush and 54 in the run game. So I think it's as much, just hasn't played much, Sanchez. But he also, in the time, to your point, in the plays and the snaps he's had, he hasn't exactly put a measurable impact in there either. But I'll say the thing that stands out in both the Raider game and the Chiefs game is that neither of these two teams early on were really trying to push the ball up the football field. And if we're looking for him to show up, especially as a pass rusher, you're going to need those guys to drop back a little bit longer than 3-step drops, get the ball out to a little swing route in the flat. And boy, the Chiefs especially just ran so much of that in the game. But I'll fall back and say, Sanchez, that when you hear about the guys talking about him around him, be it Leonard Williams or especially Jaron Reed, those guys are not parsing their words. They're not sort of, hedging their bets with this. They feel like this kid's going to turn it up. and he's going to get his opportunities this year to really shine and show what he can bring. And I'm going to still fall back on that. I am. I'm going to still kind of hold faith into that. I do think he's still going to end up eating up a little bit more snaps than we'd like to see at the 1-tech position. But if we can just get a little bit more of the snaps than the 3-tech last year, at least get him like maybe double this 3-4 times the snaps, that'd be great at the 3-tech range. But I agree with you. You haven't seen him yet do a lot here in preseason so far, and probably not tomorrow, because I doubt he's going to get much play tomorrow either. Thank you, though, man. Appreciate you, Sanchez, and also a member of the channel. Thank you for that support. Very kind of you. Nick, so for members of the channel, the membership benefits are I do Thursday night football streams for members of the channel. So we just do Thursday night watch along kind of streams. We're going to be doing once a month call-in shows on Sundays, or not Sundays, but Saturdays usually. We'll be doing it this 2 Sundays from now. And then there's the PFF scores of the week. Going to keep trying to expand these membership benefits to you guys as I can, but then the members, we get the scores off the PFF directly after the game posted up on the community board. And I'll try to keep expanding as I can kind of think of things that I think would add to the value on that. Yeah, that was just the members. Mr. Dog says, I bet the Seahawks are going to win some more games this year if they score more points than the other team. You got it, man. Nailed it. Sanchez, did you move again? I've been in San Diego for well over a year now. But I did about a year and a half ago, moved from Spokane. Nick says, does Murph get a sack week 1? Yes. The interior of the Niner offensive line is not good. They're not going to have Dominic Pooney. My man's going to go eat week 1. 2 sacks, Nick. 2. Nick says, hit up Trevor Sikkema for the Bucks. Him and Connor are awesome on the stock exchange, and he's a Bucks fan. I'll hit him up. See if we can pull him on in, Nick. Great suggestion there, man. I know at the very least Jesse's got a guy, and then I've got the roundtable folks. I can find the Bucks guy on that, I think, too. So, but that's a great suggestion. And I know who you're talking about. I'll try to see if I can get him on. Cattle says, the Saints are a team I know will be rough, but there's one element of that team that I have confidence in, and that's the offensive line and the running game. Eric McCoy, Talise Fuanga are 2 of my favorite players in the league. Kelvin Banks solidifies the left tackle position. Penning makes sense as a transitioned guard, and Ruiz is also a beast. Well said. That offensive line is legit, one of the better ones in the league, to your point. And can't argue with the fact that Banks seems like he is going to slide into there seamlessly. I mean, he had a tremendously well-rated game by PFF, I think, last week. He seems like he's going to be a nice fit. It's one of the things I think the Saints don't do a lot of great things organizationally over the last 10 years. But the one thing that they have done a good job is both the commitment to the offensive line and then usually drafting the right offensive linemen. Now, with Penning, that's the one that's a little bit more of the question mark point for me, Catalyst, because that was a guy that you knew was going to be a nightmare in pass protection. He's been a nightmare in pass protection. Maybe this gets mitigated moving to guard at this point, but he'd be the one element of that I'd be uncertain on. But yeah, you're right. They've done a good job. And it's really just understanding that base rule that we've not learned or we've been slow to learn, which is if you want a great offensive line, you got to put the investment into it. Fuang is a first-round pick. Banks is a first-round pick. Penning is a first-round pick. Cesar Ruiz is a first-round pick. Ryan Ramczyk was a first-round pick. You gotta go down the line on these bim. It's one after the other where they put in the investment to make it happen. Randall McDaniel with a $2 donation. Thank you, Randall. Jared Ivey equals a taller Kerry Hyder. I like that. Yeah, I can see that. Great comp, man. That's a beautiful comp. I love it. Guys that know how to use bigger edges, that know how to use their hands, that are really stout at the point of attack. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see this battle between Morris and Ivey, because I think that there's an argument, Randall, be made that Ivey's had the better training camp. Ivey's been the better player in preseason games. And if it's the best man's to win, I'm not sure. I know the team's going to like Mike Morris, and he's got the familiarity with Mike going back to Michigan, B. McDonald. But that would be the one thing I'd wonder about on that one. And just as I'm still bitter Teddy Bridgewater beat us. Yeah, not our best look. Not our best look. Quinn says, things getting spicy in Cheeseville. Oh, they're going at it, man. They're getting after it out there. Megas is laughing out loud. It sounded so much better in your head, B, so to speak. Exactly. Sometimes the words sound good in the head and they come out like, wait, that did not sound good. I can know how they get those announcers a hard time, Megan, where it's like guys will just rake those announcers or be like, look at him push so hard up into that crack there. He's just driving. And like, then people like pull it out of context. And it's like, I kind of feel for those guys. You're not trying to make things sometimes dirty. Things sometimes end up dirty. Nick F says Green Bay. More like Diddy Bay. Exactly. Randall McDaniel, thank you for the $2 donation. Randall says, Derek Hall reminds me of Joey Porter, not the corner. Yeah. No, they referenced it in training camp. You'd kind of wonder this a little bit about him. He's got a little bit of a, bully kind of nature to him. And when you want to build a great defense up, you ain't going to have a bunch of Boy Scouts out there. You're not going to have a bunch of choir boys out there. You need some dogs. You need some tough guys. You need some, I'm going to be a little chippy with it. I'm going to be a little edgy with it. And that's what you got in a guy like Hall. I think Witherspoon's another guy kind of cut from that cloth a little bit. He'll get after it, And I'm not surprised to see Witherspoon in there mixing it up with offensive linemen there at practice today too. Not shying away at all. That's how his mentality is well. You stack a defense up with these kind of guys that are wired in this kind of way. Again, this is the DNA. This is the fibers of a great defense. This is when you find a great defense and everybody gets caught up on these players or this scheme or this, it's also these finer details that exist within that are also the basis for what drives that success. As much as those other factors, you've got to have it. You got to have it. And Hall's got that in him, that's for sure. It's cool to see. Megan, thank you for the $2 donation as well. Appreciate you and Randall just kicking butt and taking names of the donos today. Thank you so much. Salon Sanchez too. Says, Megan, thank you. She says, I was the only one to notice the cap changes, B. You were. I wasn't even paying attention. I'll say the hard part for me is I want to look at the camera and not be looking off screen. So I'm trying sometimes to be just not always just listening to the reactions more than looking at the reactions. I got to find a way to get a monitor above me here where I can be looking at, like, when I'm looking at the camera, it looks like I'm looking at, just looking at the camera. And so I can pull off both. I got to figure out how to do that. And I'm about to get a new monitor, so I think I'll find a way to make it work. But yeah, you were the only one on that one. I think he went through like 12 changes or something, 13 changes. So pretty funny. He's going to wear that one hat when we win. He's wearing my victory hat the whole damn show, Megan. And that's going to be a long-winded show for me. It's going to be a long-winded show with a lot of discussion for me. We might have to stretch it into 2 hours that night. Sanchez, thank you again, too, for all of your donations, dropping another $5 on me. I appreciate that. I'm still not sold on Darnold. He's going to need to be a top 12 quarterback to justify his contract. Well, it was definitely a bit of the debate I was getting on with the roundtable folks the other night, where they shared, the three of them, in your thought process, not sold on him. I think that where I would stand on this is I think it's totally fair to say it was one season, and then that does not necessarily confirm that he is exactly going to be that every year. I think that's a fair way to look at it, considering the track record there. I think what happens, though, is that people will then overstate the cause of it, Sanchez, and they say, oh, he's seeing go. So he'll revert back to New York Jets, Sam Darnold. And what they're doing with that is sort of saying there is no real possible growth from what he's been. He'll always sort of revert back to that worst case scenario of who he is as a player. And that's where, to me, I think when we get to guys that are this long into the league, that's really not a fair or likely way that plays out. Certainly possible he's not able to quite match what he did last year from the position. And you're looking at it and you're going, yeah, he's kind of that middle of the road guy in the league. He's kind of more, like you say, top 12, top 15 rather than top 12. And there's a bit of a measurable difference between, I think, those two spots of things. So I think there's a fairness in saying you need to see more with it. It's just when it gets like the round table was the other night, where they're overstating it, where they're simplifying what went down with Minnesota at the end of the year and not taking into true account what went down and what was the cause of why that offense collapsed. And it wasn't because Sam Darnold, played bad. It's because your offensive line was in shambles. And quite frankly, O'Connell didn't really call the best of games to deal with that offensive line being in shambles. But it is still just one season. I just do think that if you put a 1 year up like that, that you've gotten over essentially a hump a little bit on not being able to be that functional, manageable quarterback. That whether you and I become a star, like you say, the top 12, we'll see on that part, but that you're a guy that can be out there and get the job done. You're not going to look like a rookie quarterback in his first year if we put you out there, which is a little bit like what the roundtable people were trying to kind of present to me, I feel like, in certain terms. Like that was a possibility of the Darnold experience. And I don't think it will. I don't think it will be. Thank you, though, Sanchez. I appreciate your donations, all your support. CD, what are your thoughts on if we will be able to force a shutout this season? Shutouts are going to be hard to come by, I think, CD Woods, and really I think it's going to be the kickoff rules as much as anything else that is going to make this very hard, because one or two of those kickoffs gets up to the 40-yard line, a couple first downs, somebody's in field goal range. So I think that that's going to probably lead this kickoff rule to essentially, I wouldn't be surprised if you lose 20% of your shutouts this year of what you would get normally. It's already hard to have a shutout as it is, but I would say that you're going to lose about 20% this year with the kickoff rule, because so many teams are going to start in such better natural field position. And the more teams that start in better natural field position, I want to say last year you gained like 5 yards alone off that rule change. Well, you grown a couple more yards, and that field position goes from 28, 29-yard line to 34, 35. It's going to mean more points. It's going to mean less shutouts. It's going to be very hard to make that happen. So I don't think we probably will. Then again, we are facing some pretty bad offenses this year, so you never know. Catalyst, I don't know if Dominic Pooney has a PCL injury, but it's a fairly significant one that, to my understanding, is going to keep him out for a couple of weeks. Or if he does come back, it'll be at like the 11th hour and maybe not at 100%. LC Williams says, what up, B? Been a while. It's been a while, man. It's good to have you back. Football's back. You can feel this year we have an identity and a chip on our shoulder. Go Hawks. Well put, man. That's the sense that I get coming through training camp as well. Moving in the right direction. Team's got the vibe you'd want. Good place injury-wise. But that you've got that, like you call it, chip on your shoulder intensity, whatever you want to call it, that there's that little extra something there that exists with this team where there's an aspiration to try to go be great. Not just in the words you say, but in your actions, your manner, the way you go about your daily business. And it gets me jacked up for the season too. Rams House in the house. What's up, Rams House? How you doing, man? It's good to see you. We got to get a collab with my guy this year too as well. Hope you're doing well out there. Paul B says, love the grit on this team. Me too, man. They got a bunch of that. Ola Greasy, we got a bunch of bullies, B. I think we probably do. I think we do. They didn't want that smoke over there on that sideline. Quinn says, I don't know. It looked to me like EJ won. EJ got the better punches in. And when he let that last punch go through, Zach Tom went a running. He got that last punch, and he's like, man, he hits hard. I'm good. I think I've stood up enough for my teammate. I'm out. Got to go. Randall, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, Bradford earns a second contract. Sweezy, grimy dude. Sweezy, grimy dude. Hey, maybe it's possible. If the light comes on, all the ability of the world exists inside of him. We've heard from a couple of teammates. We've heard from a couple of coaches here just through training camp that this guy's got the goods. It really is a matter of, does he want it? Does he want it? Does he aspire for that to be that, not just a guy in this league, the guy who can actually have an impact in this league? And it's going to take you mentally bringing it right every day. And to me, there's always a good news in that, where you got a guy with athletic limitations or size limitations. There's always only so far he can go in his game. But this guy's got no limitations in that way. He's a 95, 96 percentile athlete for the position. So it's possible, Randall. He's definitely going to have to put in a year of good work to get there, but it is possible. Megan, thank you for another $5 donation. Says, your victory hat, B, our victory hat, yours, mine, and every 12s. That's right. That's right. I do need to get 2 hats made. We're going to need one for Jesse, and we do need a victory hat as well. I've been trying to figure out how I can get those sunglasses the Hawks players were wearing last year, Megan, when they'd come off the field and they put them on. But I couldn't find it on the shop. I got to reach out to the Hawks organization, see if I can get a pair of those specially made up, because I'd love to bring those to the round table. But you bring up another thing. We got to get a victory hat too, as well. Put together. Have it say like tired of winning. Appreciate you, Megan. Shout about we almost shut out the Bears last season. That's true. It's true. If there's a defense good enough to do it, we could do it. And there's some games on this schedule this year where you could see it possibly happening if some of these teams' offenses. I'd throw, you almost did the same to the Cardinals last year too, Catalyst. In that first game, I think you only gave up 6 points in that one. Brian says, damn it, why didn't the notification show? It's a last second show. So when I got it for the notifications to show up, you have to get the thing scheduled 24 hours in advance for YouTube's algo thing. And this was one I wasn't sure if I was going to do, but with the practice today and some of the notes we had off that, I was like, let's go. Let's let this roll. Randall, thank you for the $5 donation, and we'll start to kind of put a bit of a button on this one. I know it's a quick show. We almost got 2 hours in. Thank you for the $5 and all of your support. You guys are just awesome as ever on the channel here. I really appreciate it. Dudes, I think, take the next big step. Bryant leads the team in picks. Oh, that's a bold statement. I love it. Charbonnet, 1,200 yards rushing. Barner, 6 to 8 touchdowns. Hall, 10+ sacks. Bradford, legit right guard play. Well, I could definitely see all that going down. I like, too, you picked those predictions, not all that were just straightforward and easy ones to be made. Charbonnet has got to be the number one back to, or at least get number one type touches to get to 1,200 yards rushing. And Barner, I could see him being a little bit of that guy who's very effective in there by the goal line. You found a couple times working him through last year. He's a very much a kind of a master of the chip and leak out block, where he gets the nice chip in there, and then he just sort of gets lost in the shuffle on the defense, leaks out, especially around the goal line, and you were finding him for some easy touchdowns last year. Would love to see some more of that. And Hall certainly got it in his game to take that next step, and you're looking for him to take that next step this year with the 10 sacks. So I love they're outside the box, but they're also very, possible, feasible. And then Brian leading the team in picks. This is one that can't be undersold. 3 interceptions last year, had 2 other picks that just kind of were right on I think one was nullified by, I want to say, a penalty, and another one he just barely couldn't quite reel in. Or he would have had 5 interceptions last year, and that's not starting from day one. That's having to kind of wait to get your opportunity there a little bit. But he's got a real nose for the ball, Randall. Real nose for the ball heading into a contract year, and now he's had some time here at safety to get acclimated. I think you're going to get your best version of Bryant this year, your hungriest version of Bryant, and he's been a good player on the come, on the rise. He looks like he's ready to go on this. So, yeah, I'm stoked to see it, man. I love your predictions. I'm with it. I'm getting some prescription and aviator sunglasses for my Marty McFly cosplay for the trip of 35 days beat. Oh, get it, Megan. Aviators are always good. Aviators always go well. Quinn says, get a stop the count hat for week 1 win. Stop the count. It's a good idea. I like it. Jackie Treehorn, thank you for the $12 donation, Jackie. And you guys are awesome as ever. Can't finish the show. We got some of those donos coming in. Says, hey, B, give us the phone call of John Schneider trying to get MVS. John Lynch trying to get MVS from John Schneider. All right, here we go. Ring, ring. Yeah, what's up? It's John. Johnny boy over here calling. Mr. Lynch, how's it going? What's up? Nothing, big guy, nothing. Just, call and say what's up. I thought, division rivals, just like maybe make a call and just see how you're doing. You need anything right now, or is there anything I can do for you, John? No? No, Mr. Lynch, I think we're doing pretty good. It's been a good, successful preseason, and, we don't do a lot of these trades interdivision-wise, so I'd be kind of hesitant to ask you anyway. Yeah, I know. I know you'd usually be hesitant to ask, but I don't think we should have that kind of relationship, my friend, Mr. Schneider. I think we should have an open one. Why don't we do this differently than everybody else? Why don't we be jet setters? Why don't we be trend makers, John? Why don't we have some John on John love here? Wait, again, that didn't sound right. What are you talking about? Look, Johnny S., just ignore that for a second, okay? Just stay with me on this, okay? We don't have to keep these doors closed between us, okay? We can keep them open. You can have 32 teams in the NFL that you trade with instead of just 28. Wouldn't that be nice? I'd like that. Wouldn't you like that? Yeah, I guess I would like that. Okay, cool. So we're in agreement. We're just going to keep those doors open, right? Yeah, we'll keep the doors open. Cool. So, in the spirit of doors opening, hands across America here, right? Hands across the West Coast. Us West Coasters got to stay together, right? Huh? Where are you going with this? We're hurting, John. We're hurting, man. Our wide receivers are decimated. I got Robbie Chosen in here. He's pushing coaches. I got my receivers getting shot. I got another one with no ligaments left in his knee. He's got to start week 1. What am I going to do? I got to bring him out in a wheelchair? Johnny, you've got it so many. You've got so much and we've got so little. Haven't you guys been to a couple Super Bowls lately? What does that got to do with it? I'm just saying, you're kind of at this run point. This is where you got to kind of accept what is and go through that process. Let's call it a mourning process, John. Mourning process? Yeah, I think you just got to suffer a little bit of that pain. We all have to. I had to after the LB days. It was tough. Man, it was tough. I don't want to show you those drafts. What about open doors and hands across America? Yeah, I don't think so. I think I'd just like to watch you guys sit there and spin a little bit, actually. So, no, Marquez is a valuable addition. What was that? Was that Bill? We got who on the line offering? Well, now that you're on the line here, John, I'm just getting a call right now. Right now, I've got Washington on the line. They're offering a 4. I mean, if you want to throw me one of those late 3s, because you'll be a playoff team with Marquez there. That reinforces your ranks a bit. So if you want to throw me a late 3, I mean, so you're gonna rake me over the barrel, huh, John? You're gonna do me like that, huh, John? Hey, what happened to hands across America, Mr. Lynch? What happened to open doors? I didn't say I was gonna let you rape me. I think the call would go something like that. That's my call for it there, Jackie. John just ends up hardlining him, like a gangster. What are you going to do, I mean, you're going to go this season without any receivers? Or you want to have a receiver? What are you going to do? I don't know. You tell me. What do you want to do? You want to have one or you do not? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Maybe you can have a receiver. You can maybe have a receiver if you want to give us the goods. But if you don't want to give us the goods, maybe you don't have nothing. Maybe your shop just doesn't open anymore. Maybe you got nothing you can do about that no more. What about that? Huh? You like that? Or maybe you're going to give us what we want. Huh? Maybe you're going to be functional. Which way you want, Mr. Lynch? Huh? Which way you want? That's how I'd really like John to get with this, Jackie. I just want him to just channel his inner godfather, It's amazing you would come to me with this offer. And it would be so soft. You need to come with me much, much harder. That's how I see it in my mind. He's got to be getting desperate. You're calling on my man, Robbie Chosen. You are not on the precipice of an awesome season. You're bringing him to be your number 1 game 1. Yikes. Taker610. Thank you for the $5 donation, Taker610. Appreciate you, man. It's good to see you in the house, too. You as well, Jackie. I got to say, Brando, me being a Will Levis and Anthony Richardson advocate hasn't exactly panned out yet. Jaylen Milroe better than Anthony Richardson. And 1 second here. Yeah, if you're buying stock right now across the NFL landscape, Taker, and look at those teams out there, I think right now that would be taking a look at Jaylen versus taking a look at Richardson. Let's just say it's, point per point, cost for cost. I think that there's going to be more NFL teams right now that have much more stock in Jaylen. And not that they have trust in Jaylen that he's going to be something amazing, but it would be more of a representation of how low the bar has gone on Anthony Richardson and how the outlook is of him. And you get a trajectory going at times, and things are twisting in a downward way, and maybe you're at a bad spot, maybe you're not developing, maybe you're not working hard enough. There has been some indicators here with him that maybe some of that is a bit of the case with him. But then you have a moment that, like this preseason game, where you slide protection away for a blitz that's not coming, and then you end up getting, molly-whopped, blindsided, and get broken. And as many people have said from the Cold organization, these are the exact kind of plays that we've been looking for you to come forward on and to start to recognize and do the right thing on. Whereas with Milroe, you have a guy that's a much more an unknown with that on whether or not this stuff will develop, where more people are going to be standing right now saying Taker, well, just didn't develop in Richardson. Had the talent, just never came forward, never developed. That's the part that we come back to again, though, which is that one of the factors that you can't trace or track with a stat, you can't really show behind the scenes. It's something that you more feel in the performance of the player than anything else, which is, how has this guy been developed? I think we have a one-size-fits-all approach at times when we look at NFL franchises and how they go about their business. They practice the same way. They train the same way. They develop the same way. And I think instead that there's a lot of variance team by team in the way that they go about their business. And that there's a lot of teams that, I hate to say openly do things kind of stupid, but openly don't do things smart. And I squawked as loud as I could about Richardson being that it was an obvious factor with this kid taking him out of college with so few starts, with how raw his game was, that you can't start him immediately. You got to give him some time and let him develop behind the scenes. And this used to be more standard procedure and letting guys just have that time to develop and get better. And now it's more of throw him out there and see what you got. And I think it's just it's a childish way of looking at it. I want it fast. I want him good fast. He needs to be good fast. Well, great. We all want stuff. Is that what's really best for him? Is that because you want it going to make it happen? Or do you do the thing that will help create the conditions to likely allow him to realize what you're wanting from him? And it's such a key question that I think organizations just don't ask themselves. Instead, it is just go grab the guy, throw him out there. So I got Levis wrong too, Taker. There's everybody looking at quarterbacks. Everybody is going to get your share wrong. And the thing to remember with this is that NFL teams across the board get this stuff wrong. It's one of the hardest positions to evaluate, one of the hardest positions to then project off of an evaluation. The whole thing you say about players and looking in college is I want to see the flashes. And if he shows me the flashes, then I can build on those flashes and create consistently. And then I've got that great player. Richardson showed you the flashes. Milroe showed you the flashes. A lot of these players can show you the flashes of the quarterback position. But, can they play in and play out, execute the offense, execute the requirements of the position? And it's hard. It's tough. It's very difficult to see this kind of stuff. So, it's Richardson. It seems like he potentially could be on his way maybe to Pittsburgh, because they've seemed to be a team that's kind of circling him a little bit there. But certainly you're right. Milroe stock definitely up, much more than considerate towards Richardson. But Seattle's also doing something much more smart than what the Colts did with Richardson. And that's going to give them much more of a chance to get to that top end of Milroe, in my opinion. On top of the fact, he seems like maybe a little bit more of a harder worker and, more aware of what he has to do to get this done. May says, need the prescription ones, so I can't use the ones I already have, B. I see. Well, I love aviators. They look good. I'd get one of those for the round table, but then they'd just be reflecting back the camera. May says, can just look at the look on Jay's face as a good Catholic boy in the statements like that. Hawks Nest. and John Love. Quinn says, I can totally see John Snyder's not quite straight face when he hears some BS and has to really try hard not to laugh. I can too, Quinn. It's one of those places you'd love to be a fly on the wall with some of the conversations you get, Jerry calling you up randomly. How about today, John? What about today for Micah? 3 and 2 twos. Will you do it today, John? He wants to go there, John. He wants to be there. He loves dirty. He loves himself some dirty. He told me this morning. Will you do it today? And just stuff like that where there's some off the wall stuff, I'm sure, as a GM that you get where you're just like, whoa. And you get a lot of desperate GMs out there throwing some probably desperate stuff at you too. A lot of stuff to kind of wade through all the way around on that one. Woo! Me in the house dropping a big old monster $100 donation. Let's go, me. Good to see you back in the house. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you so much for the $100 donation. And you folks are just so kind. I did a little bit of a shock show here. No foresight to you guys knowing the show was coming down the line. You guys showed up, showing the love as you guys always do. And me, you've come in here multiple times, these kind of big, monstrous donations. I really thank you for that. Really, really kind of you. Really appreciate it. Helping keep this channel rolling along strong. Says, hey, B, fellow 12s. Hope everyone's been well. Hope you're doing great. This has been an awesome training camp, me. Can't believe the season's right around the corner. Really looking forward to game 1 against the Niners. I will be in enemy territory, rocking my blue and green. Let's effing go, Hawks! Hey, let's go. Get in my belly! That's that energy right there, me. Get here, game 1. Get in my belly. Get in my belly. And hopefully, that stupid ass section there that's got the red and the gold is going to be more peppered in there with much more blue like yourself. You're God's warrior down there, going into the breach like that. Going into the breach, having to look at those uniforms, having to be around them with all those fans. And the fun part about this, me, is that you get to look at all of their sad faces, just with a quick little turn of your head. 1 sad face, 2 sad face, 3 sad face, tears, Super Bowl window closing. Hey, what are the Giants doing this offseason? Hey, maybe it's time to look at baseball. Hey, maybe this just won't be a season I watch any football this year. You get a lot of that vibe in the stadium, hopefully week 1. You know what I mean, me? Like those are the conversations you're hearing around you from those various Niner fans. But good on you to be down in there, dropping some elbows, clearing some space, letting them know, just don't you all forget, this is our stadium. You can show up in your little smatterings. This is still our house. Our house. Let's effing go. I love to hear it. You're in that stadium week 1. I expect to hear you coming back from week 1 with a report. We're doing the post game. I want you getting in the chat. I want to hear about how the sound was in there and if you felt the volume from the crowd, if the energy was right. Those of you like me that are going to be in there on week 1, I'm kind of tracking and wondering about this a little bit. So I'd love to hear some reports. I'd love to hear some feedback from you guys getting into week 1 after that stadium. 1 o'clock game. Did you feel that energy from the crowd? Did you feel a little bit of the sense that I got going to training camp practices? As in one of the training camp practices, Dan Viens referenced to me saying, man, I've never seen this many people at a training camp practice. And we go to the scrimmage and there feels a little bit of something a little bit like of a sense of a palpable anticipation from the crowd, a little bit of electricity amongst the followers and faithful. And maybe we're going to get that even into game 1, me. And if that's the case, please do let me know, because it says that maybe we're back on the road to recapturing the 12th spirit in full and providing back to our defense and our team the greatest benefit any crowd has given any team in sporting history. I'd love to see it. But thank you so very, very, very much for all of your longtime support here on the channel, dropping so many $100 donations. Very, very kind of you. And be out there screaming your butt out, and don't take no mess from none of them Niner fans around you. Don't take no mess from them. But like I said, you don't have to worry about that, maybe, because they're going to be so silent and stone-faced in their misery and suffering as they know this is just the start. They know this is just the first game of what is going to be pain. Thank you, me. I appreciate that donation. Very, very, very kind of you. Noah Lansing, thank you for the $2 donation. Noah, what's the opinion on Arroyo compared to draft time? Well, there's been some good catches in practice, and he seems to be making some noise in practice. I can't say that I've seen a lot of him in the game that's from the couple preseason games I've watched that's changed the opinion or outlook of him from what I've seen in the games. A big part of the outlook with him too, and the wondering with him too, is going to be the health and how that holds up. That's something that you track, throughout the course of the year, where maybe he has the first couple of games and he makes some impact. But if he goes down week 4 and he's out the whole season, well, the injury concerns were a part of the evaluation process. But he's looked good, made the great catch today. I was showing it earlier here, Noah, in the spirit of your donation. Here's that Elijah Arroyo catch from today at training camp inter-squad practice. Just a wonderful little one-handed catch. I think that when it comes to Arroyo, I watched his tape. I watched it thoroughly. I had my outlook on it. I looked at the production. I've looked at other tight ends that have come out with that similar lack of production on the back of the basis being it due to injury, and how so few of them just had it fully come together then as a pro, instead of, let's say, facing back into that injury concern again, or back in the injury tub over and over again, so to speak. But, the thing that gave me as much of anything, any confidence in this draft and this process is with a guy like Rob Staden. He's a guy that I've watched and listened to for many different years at Seahawks Draft Blog. And his expertise is definitely covering the Hawks, but it's also been, as the name does denote, his look to try to, look at every draft and look at it very closely. And not only look at every draft, but I know that he also adjusts his mindset and outlook of drafts, and he's an evolver in the way he looks at things, and it changes with times, as it should with people that want to smartly look at these type of things. But I think that is as much as anything that gives me the confidence with this, is that somebody that's watched that stuff as much as him, who fell utterly in love with Arroyo in the draft process. Not after the Seahawks selected him, but he was a guy, Noah, that I asked when he came over the channel. I said, give me your 2 guys I have to come out of this draft by any means necessary guys. And Arroyo was one of those guys. So, when a guy like that gets that hyped up, he's not a guy that tends to, be in this manner on these players in the draft. He's got a pretty good background in looking at these guys and being solid in the look. And that gives me as much confidence as anything. And leaning in a little bit on his opinion on that. But if I just do it on the basis of what I saw from the tape, I like the elements of his game. I can see elements of his game that give him some quasi-special traits, I guess. I just didn't see it enough on college consistently enough, or even in those great flashes of moments enough to get a ton of confidence on the back of it. I also do think he's going to struggle as a run blocker. And that has been an issue up until this point in the couple of preseason games I've watched with him, where, he's a good pass catcher, good soft hands, quickly turns into a runner after the catch. But I think as a run blocker, there's going to be some struggles there too. So hopefully that's a good answer. It's kind of a long way to win there. CD Woods, I'm not going to argue our AR-15 would have worked out, but the Colts threw him into the fire when he clearly wasn't ready. Like you're saying now, laughing out loud, sit him behind a veteran. Yeah, you're 100% right with that. It's not to say that this is a guaranteed point of success for AR. It's to say when you grab one of these guys that is a project, you've got to embrace the project for what it is and the time it takes to get the fruits of it returned. And the draw in the NFL is to just draw these quarterbacks out there and throw them out there, whether that you're taking that into account or not. And it's not smart. It's a dumb way of operating. And it very well may be that AR just can't play the sport. It wouldn't matter who he went to and where he went to and what place he landed. It just was never going to work. But this is the thing the Colts can't really say they know for sure at this point, because they didn't remove the part of the puzzle that they controlled, which is the giving him the length of time to develop properly. And I'm on record with Richardson saying on draft day, if you take this guy, you've got to give him 2 years. Like I'm saying with Milroe. The benefits of this cannot be undersold. Or you give a guy, rather than he's out there in the fire, right? These last 2 years, CD Woods, rather than he's out there taking unnecessary hits because he's running RPO option game elements because the Colts aren't going to run Shea Steichen's offense. They're instead going to try to have him run the Miami offense because they want to get him on the field so fast because he's not really ready to run their offense, right? Problematic right out the gate. Gets injured then running that same offense. Problematic right out the gate. Comes back then and has to walk off the field because he's injured. Teammates are angry with him. Gives him a kind of this big black mark league-wide at that point. Comes back again this year. Gets injured again this year. Doing what, CD Woods? running RPO options. Why is he running RPO options? Because he's still not ready to run Shane Steichen's offense. Why is he not ready to run Shane Steichen's offense? Because they've not developed him within Shane Steichen's offense. They've tried to put some amalgamation together, some hybridic system that can get him onto the field quicker by having him do Miami elements, which then just keep him in the box of what he was, not developing him into what he could be. And this is watching team after team do this. The Bears did this with Justin Fields, and maybe Justin Fields is broken forever. Maybe you never will get this guy back. Maybe he's just that bad. But you didn't have a plan in place. You thought the best thing was to just throw a young quarterback into the fire and see if he gets burned. Oh, shocker. He's coming out with cinder on his limbs. It bothers me with this one with NFL teams on this. I get that their shelf life is short as far as GMs and coaches, and that you got to get while the getting's good, and that, you know, you're not going to be given the time patiently to develop things right. But look, you're setting things up to fail in so many ways on the other side of this. So many ways. Meg says Jess would have Jerry on speaker and be like, yep, at regular interviews while he keeps working Hawks Nest. Yeah, he's got the tape recorder, Megan. He's already recorded for Jerry. He's even got it labeled on his desk as the Jerry recorder. He just hits play on it. He's over there just, you listen to me? And then he's like, yeah. All right, let me continue. Nick, maybe a team like Buffalo swoops in and gets Richardson for nothing. Let him learn from Josh and then trade him a bigger return. Use Richardson on runs to preserve Allen's health. Yeah, I could see it. I could see them doing it. I think the Steelers are going to be the front runners on this. They need a pathway to a quarterback of the future. Rodgers is on a 1-year deal. This would allow them to run a lot of the kind of packages we're going to try to run with Milroe this year and supplement a little bit of Rodgers, especially if Rodgers in that offense struggles there. And so I'm kind of leaning the Steelers just feel like one's been talked about so much, but Bills could make some sense too. I could see that as well to your point. The thing with grabbing Richardson in any of these teams is they can kind of use him in at least that role, even if you don't buy into him as your long-term option there as a QB. You can have him just run some of the RPO-ish kind of stuff, play action under center stuff and roll him out maybe. But yeah, I could see that. Meese, as always, it's well-deserved be. Well, it's very kind of you. It's no small thing in this, especially this economy with what's going on, to be throwing that around that money, and it's really, really, really appreciated. Jordan, thank you for the $10 donation, Jordan. Says, people saying Sam is the worst quarterback in the division when Murray has never had a season as good as Sam did last year. Murray had a prime D-Hop and a team around him half his career while Sam didn't. Again, you guys are speaking the truth, Jordan, and thank you for the $10 donation as well as being a member of the channel. You're awesome for that. But you're speaking the truth, as was spoken above in kind of the same vein in regards to this discussion, and something I was trying to harp on, but yet I think I was just talking to deaf ears all across the board. It's, again, that sort of repeat of the Geno Smith situation where I feel like I'm making a lot of good points, but they just have it so fitted in their mind of where this guy stands that narrative is so hard-lined in there that you just cannot break it free. Much like in the same way, though, everybody on the panel has a little bit of outlook on Kyler Murray, because the same thing happened last year walking in there where people were going, Kyler Murray's a top 10 quarterback and Geno's not nothing. And I'm in there going, what has Kyler done to earn being called a top 10 quarterback? Number 1 overall pick and given a contract extension? He's not that good. Like he's just not. And he's got limitations and things that with his game that hold you back offensively from being able to be at your best. I mean, they're noticeable. I'll tell you this, guys. It was one of the things that stood out to me on going there for the roundtable discussion I had at the down there from Lumen Field there, where we're talking with Corbin Smith, Dan Viens, Bryce Coots, and Mookie were all there. We were hanging out. And that Corbin was just, he was adamant, Corbin was, that he stood next to Kyler Murray and that Kyler Murray's 5'5". He was adamant that this was the case. And there's just, I don't care who you are, you were never selling me on a 5'5" quarterback in the NFL going and winning a Super Bowl. There's zero chance of this ever occurring at that point. I don't care how fast he is. I don't care if he looks like a little toddler running around, but he's that small. And a lot of these guys get listed at a certain height. They're not that height. I don't know why the NFL does this with certain players, but it seems like especially the quarterbacks that are the mighty mites, they end up giving them like 2 extra inches at the combine for reasons. But back to your point on this, Jordan, and back to the last year with Sam Darnold. 40 touchdowns, 30 touchdowns, 4,000 yards passing. These are not numbers quarterbacks just fall into. They don't roll out of bed and land on 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. And the way that the people in the panel were discussing Sam is that that's sort of what happened to him. That this just occurs all the time. Quarterbacks just do this type of thing all the time. No, they don't. No, they don't. And I think nobody on the panel is really, I tried to mention it last night, but I don't think that they're all really putting as much 2-2 together on the pressure front with Darnold last year. Here's the place where I always find a synopsis disconnect on certain things on these kind of discussions that are so odd and how much there's a wide difference of what the outlook is on a situation. And I think that the synapses part's not clicking together for them. Like they see him dealing with the pressure in that last playoff game or the Rams, and they're going, there's Sam seeing ghosts again, rather than they're going, oh my God, the offensive line is in awful shape and giving him no time to throw, and there's nobody open, there's no answers, and O'Connell's not calling the best of games. And like they just drive back to that standpoint, but they're not also thinking that it wasn't just there he was dealing with pressure, that you get to the same numbers of what Geno dealt with pressure-wise last year by being inundated with a lot of pressure. We saw Geno had to, he earned those lumps as far as game after game after game dealing with what I would call unnecessary pressure because of how Grubb called the games by you trying to pass the ball damn near 70% of the time. But Vikings weren't passing the ball at 70% of the time, and yet still the pressure rates match up across the board. It doesn't track. You can't say on one hand he falls out of bed into a 4,000-yard season and 30 touchdowns and then be ignoring that data about the pressure rates because it doesn't align. If he's falling out of bed into it, if he's just being given the yellow brick road to the great season, then the pressure rates are going to be much better. They're at least going to be middle of the road. At least middle of the road. And that's not middle of the road. We're in league worst range of things when we're talking about these pressure numbers between Geno Smith and Sam Darnold last year. League worst. So it's just one place where that synopsis point's kind of not connecting right for me, Jordan, in this discussion with these folks when I'm trying to get that across to them, where it's like, you're not getting New York Jet Sam. I mentioned on the show the other night too, it's like you guys are caught up on this Jet thing. He went to Carolina. Baker Mayfield was really going to be looked at as the kind of guy in Carolina. He gets in there at the end of the year with a roster that is far from loaded. Got a guy named Chuba Hubbard and Devontae Foreman running the football for you. Who were their receivers on that team? Who was he throwing to? I think DJ Moore was far gone at that point. And he came into your house in Seattle and won that football game in a game where you needed that as a team. You were trying to win that game. You were in the hunt at that point for the division. That was part of this maturation. That was already him on this road of growth. That wasn't him as a New York Jet, Sam, having just a good game. That was the pathway of that growth and how you could chart this thing like a stock, slowly rising up and getting better and better. The stock doesn't just randomly now go down for just no reason because he's just going to wake up one day and realize he's Sam the Jet Darnold. I don't think it works like that. I don't. I think the quarterback position is one that takes time to learn, hardest position in sports. All the more reason you should give these guys a little bit of extra time to learn it, understand it, master it as much as it can be mastered, and then you put them out on the football field. Yeah. But well said, Jordan. I see this discussion the same way and the way it goes, and that Kyler gets this benefit of the doubt at times to me is pretty hilarious. Because I watched a lot of Kyler Murray, and last year because I did the roundtable show, I had to make sure I was watching all the Cardinal games, all the Niner games, all the Ram games. And it just stood out to me over and over again that he doesn't use his legs dynamically at all. He gives up running the ball over games, over courses of quarters and games all the time. He's restricted within the pocket and what he can do. He had one of the lowest percentages of fade balls down the sidelines. So here's a guy that you tell me, okay, he's going to run around all over hell and that he creates so much with his legs. And then he's got this big time arm, yet he doesn't have any accuracy to throw deep and he barely uses his legs. It doesn't track for me either, Jordan. It doesn't. And it's going to be proven true this year, especially when you look at the Cardinals and what they've done with their receiver room. Y'all are nervous about our receivers and replacing DK Metcalf. My goodness, go look at the Cardinals receiving room. Yikes. So let me, Juan, how you doing, man? Good to see you too, as well. Hope you're doing well. Will Valdez, after Seattle dominates the Niners, is going to be trouble in paradise for the Niner fans going into the rest of the season. Oh, it's going to set it'd be just, we start them on that path, right? Because I've said it today with Brendan on the B&B show, and that is that if Kyle goes out there and has another year like last year, I don't know if he's just going to be able to lean on the injury excuse and that gets him through it. I think that the team going out there and tearing down the walls as far as their salary cap, this is a team in the Niner that's eating $100 million of dead money. Money not on their books, players not on their books, just ripped off this season. And that they're hoping to still be a contender within that. And that if they go out there and have another bad year, as high as the heights have been with Shanahan, he has a lot more in that feast and famine role with the organization. And you might see it get a little bit hot there. Certainly possible. Have a good night there, Megan. Appreciate you. Daniel says, I think fantasy football skews how people think of quarterbacks or players in general, but sometimes it doesn't translate like with Kyler. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think fantasy is definitely, especially for folks like myself who I'll play fantasy, but it's so much more, driven by the stuff that's just separate of just what you're showing me numbers wise. I want to see the context of the numbers. And I think you're probably onto a good thing there, is onto a good trail there. That's probably a lot of what sort of drives that a bit. But he says, I'm taller than Kyler Murray and I'm just over 5'5". I mean, Corbin was, he said it unprompted. He was just kind of just bringing it up. And it was like, it was the whole thing where it clicked to me, Megan, where, we were in the stadium watching Kyler and we're on the lower bowl there. So we're like field level where we're sitting, when we're watching the game a couple of years ago. And every time Kyler dropped behind that line of scrimmage, he disappeared. I mean, you could, and you're watching the receivers run the routes and you're going, there's no way he can see the receivers. There's no possible way he's actually able to see what the hell they're doing here. No way. And then you just like that, what you'd see is as soon as the receiver would clear the line of scrimmage, so if he's running a like drag route, disappears. And then as soon as the receiver gets outside of the line box there and out past into kind of like where the hash marks are, just past the hashes, Kyler could see him and then he could try to throw to him. But boy, did it stand out in a major way. King says, do you know what the difference is between a waived injury designation versus moving someone to IR? I'm in a little bit of uncertain land on this one too. I've kind of wondered this as well, King Bomber, and I've tried to look it up and it's hard to kind of quite find the details on this one exactly, but I can give you a general sense of what it is. I thought it was essentially seeing if someone would take the contract, but there's an unwritten rule. Yeah, so there's something to where if you don't have a guaranteed contract, but then you get injured, that you come to an injury settlement then with that player. But that if then there's a guaranteed contract, now that player goes on to IR because it's guaranteed. 1 second here. Could you need love? So let's put this out in real world terms. Trying to think of the right one here. Okay, so let's say Boye Mafe goes down, week 2 King Bomber. He's on IR because he's got the guaranteed contract of a second round pick. It's not fully guaranteed, but that its base salary is guaranteed essentially. So if I have a guy that's a undrafted guy on the roster, like a Jared Ivey, let's say, and Jared Ivey gets injured in this final Packer game, and it's a major injury, now this is where team and player come down to an injury designation, where they say, look, this kind of that unwritten rule part where technically they can just release him off and say, you're off the roster. It's no thing to us. It's my understanding the team kind of gives him like a $10,000, $20,000, here you go, for what you're having to deal with on this, and because it's not a guaranteed deal, but we can't pay you for the full books of the deal because we got to manage our money too as well in addition to this. So I think that's the way the rule kind of breaks down on that. It's the difference of guys that are on the guaranteed contract versus not. But the unwritten rule part of it, I think, is just that the team does something for the player on that. They come to some settlement option on that for those guys that don't have the guaranteed deal. He says, then I read you couldn't move someone with less than 4 seasons to IR. So I'm confused. The benefit is when we don't see our guys on rookie deals get waived who are out for the year. It's not my understanding that you have to, less than 4 years, you can go to the IR. I do believe you can. So I'm not sure I understand that, but I think, King, what you ran into is what I ran into is when I tried to get into look into the details of this, it got even the more murky the more I kind of read on this. But I know that there's been plenty of guys in their first 4 years that have been put on IR that are rookies. We got rookies in this training camp that have been put on IR for the season. Taker 610, thank you for the $2 donation, Taker. We hired Ryan Grubb, but got Ryan Scrub. Yuck, yuck. Yeah, we got a guy probably at his best is more of a college coordinator than a pro coordinator. And we kind of learned last year, Taker 610, why has there not been a college offensive coordinator brought up to the NFL to go and do that job up until that point? That the pathway is I'm an OC and then I go to be an OC, then I go be a coach at the NFL level and eventually become an OC at the NFL level. Or I can be a college coach who becomes a pro coach at the NFL level. But we don't see the college coaches going to OCs, the OC to OC kind of climb that Grubb did. I think we kind of saw why. It's two different styles of game. It's two different ways in how you win. It's a lot, the game changes a lot by those hash marks narrowing up or widening out the way you want to consider it. And Grubb just couldn't make that change. But it seems like it's a hard change to make, and this is why teams don't do it. You know. AA Joss says never trust unwritten rules. Just my experience. No, well, they're unwritten for a reason. Hard to pin down. Denzel Joyce, I played against Kyler in high school. He's not 5'5", respectfully. Big Hawk fan, but bro is true 5'8". Well, there we go. Again, not my words on this too, Denzel. So it stood out to me with what Corbin was saying standing next to him. So I'll take your word for it, for sure. I will say that I'd heard similar things with guys that would stand next to like Russell Wilson, where it's like Russell was listed at 5'10". People were like, no, he's 5'8". And if Russell is 5'8", I know Russell's at least about an inch taller than Kyler Murray. But I'll take your word for it. It was just something interesting from that I thought Corbin said. JF Melfair, doing those things is how you avoid being the Bengals where people don't want to play. Players talk about that stuff. Yeah, reputations carry. And that's why it's unwritten, is that you can hardline it. You know, and you can be a hardline in a lot of ways across this league. You can hardline Trey Hendrickson and just play some silly game with him. You can hardline Micah Parsons and play a silly game with him, but then your reputation will carry with you, and that will then color other negotiations. And agents that went through that with players will maybe avoid you a little bit more. And you got to be kind of aware of this stuff. You know, you can't just kind of treat it like it's something that doesn't matter. It does. Hey, Josh, you're allowed 2 preseason IR guys who can return in the season without counting against the 53. All right, there we go. There we go. King says, so if that's the case, you can put someone on the IR with less than 4 years, like rookies who get hurt, then is waiving them with an injury designation essentially getting back some of that money? Well, this is where we come down to the difference, King Bomber, of a guy that you've drafted, or a guy that you've drafted, let's say high, versus a guy that's on a 6th or 7th round deal. Or an undrafted rookie free agent guy, or a guy in a vet minimum that, you know, you're not guaranteed to. So yeah, if you have a guy, I would say it's less about you getting the money back, because you're going to have the 53-man roster filled out with another dude. It's just that you get the money back that you would, if you would have had to IR that guy and guarantee his whole contract through the whole year, you know, you're out all of that money. Let's say it's an undrafted rookie free agent that's going to cost you $650,000 for a full season on the books. That's now not on the books versus at less the $10,000, $20,000 you gave him on an injury settlement. But if the guy's already on a contract, the IR is going to IR. So if it's a 2nd, it's a 3rd, it's a 4th round pick. If you put Riley Mills on IR for the whole year this year, King Bomber, the kid that we took in the 4th round, there's no waiving for injury designation there with him. That's he's on IR, and his contract and what he has signed base salary wise is going to be guaranteed. Whatever bonus money he gets the bonus money coming in. So there's a bit of a separation on this too, on which guys we're talking about here. It's really your back end roster guys you're speaking about here. And in those guys' case, they're more of the, you know, on the roster, off the roster kind of thing. And that you're going to have a guy replacing them anyway. So the savings is kind of, it's sort of minimal a little bit. Because the Colts put the rookie on IR for a year, but the Niners waived Kiner with an injury designation and then reverted to their IR. It's a weird one there, King. It's not a simple rule book on this one. That's for sure. Mr. Kane says, crap, I'm late. How did we do in the brawl? We did good, man. Check it out. I think Ernest Jones got himself some shots in. I think he laid down a little bit of pain here, right? Right? Boom, right there. And then gave him one more. But look at Tom turning away there. He wanted none of it, man. Mr. Kane, he wanted none of that business. Once he got a little bit of Johnny Walker Red, he said, I don't think so. I like Johnny Walker Black. I don't want none of that Johnny Walker Red. Look at him right here. What you doing, sucko? Boom. Zach's throwing some weak punches. Ernest is trying to make something land. He's trying to hit. Yeah, if they're still in the IR, King Bomber, then you do have them retained on your roster. But if it's waived with the injury designation, then they're free and clear at that point. I'd say, yeah, EJ land or KO in round 1. He did, Mr. Kane. It's good to see you in the house too, brother. I think Ernest kind of shut that thing down with that punch. Was like, oh, that's real. We're not just pushing each other out here. Sean says 5'8" still pretty small for the NFL. I'm 5'11 and a half, and I'm small next to those giants on the line. It is. It's tiny, man. It's very hard at that height to get it through. But it is weird on the NFL, I feel like, on quarterbacks under 6 feet, on all of them. It makes me wonder about Drew Brees if he was like just 5'11". Or, you know, I don't know what it is with those, but I think on some of those, they, you know, versus like, I feel like if you're 6'4", 6'5", they're maybe go the other way with it. King says, so putting a guy on IR guarantees their deal, so players without guarantees in their deal would be waived to recoup some of that, while others who have guarantees would get it anyway. Yeah, essentially, yeah. And if you've signed a guy to a multi-year deal, King Bomber, right? That's the part of this too. Your first, your second, your third, your fourth round pick, your fifth, you're going to have these guys on multi-year deals and what you've signed them to. Versus Jared Ivey, who's on a vet minimum, undrafted rookie free agent, standardized deal. You know, that's where that's a bit of the difference there too, is that you're not releasing that guy out with multiple years left and maybe some bonus money that's got to come off the books there that accelerates instantaneously. Darius Witherspoon had a good shot in there too until he got grabbed. Yeah, Witherspoon was in it. What's your 5'11", 185-pound cornerback getting after a little bit there too, huh? Yeah, he got a little bit of he got that in quick. Nice short punch there from Devin. Love the fight. Love the tenacity of spirit out there from these boys. I'll check out some of those clips, King Bomber. I think we won. Jay Melfair, rumor was that Witherspoon was being talkative and the guy snapped. Everybody talks about that with Witherspoon. I think Sam Darnold said he wasn't surprised when he heard that it was Witherspoon stirring it up. I mean, that's Devin. And this is also what you get with cornerbacks, right? We had one of our own here that was one of the best ever at provoking and getting guys to snap, and Richard Sherman. And, will you just shut up? Will you just shut up? You know, they can't just shut up. No, I ain't going to shut up. I'm going to keep talking. I'm here all day. I'm going to do this all day. What are you going to do about it? What you going to do about it? You ain't going to do nothing. You ain't doing so. You're just a punk. You're just a punk. You know, just use the you hear that all day, and eventually you're like, but that's why it works, man. It gets to guys, you know, and Witherspoon's just wired that way. It's part of what makes him so awesome is that he is absolutely going back to his college days, watching his whole college reps going back to Illinois. He was right there in the ear of the receiver 24/7. If anything, he's been more quiet as a pro, whereas in college it was just yippity yappity yap yap yap. I mean, he was right there letting him know. Hey, Joss, I wouldn't want to fight Ernest Jones. Holy, that dude can clearly fight. I hope he doesn't hurt his hand. Well, what's cool about the fight technique here to me, Joss, was that when I watched it, I think he was smart. And then if you look at the punch, he goes kind of up under. So if you go up under here on the face mask, you're going to avoid the face mask and just catch chin all the way. And I think that's why Zach Tom turned away, as he caught him in the chin. He's like, my helmet didn't save me. But like to your point, that's a guy that knows how to fight because he can land and put the punch where he wants to put it and puts it with some force. You know, he turned his hips right. And, you know, I agree with you. I wouldn't mess with Ernest either. I probably wouldn't mess with a lot of NFL middle linebackers. That's that Ray Lewis size, dimension, build, explosiveness to strength thing. You know, Maybe the offensive lineman, you can tire him out if you just get him to move in circles, right? maybe you're tangling with a receiver who's a little light, right around your weight. Those middle linebackers at 240, it's like, I can't run away from him. He's too quick for me. He's going to be too strong for me. I think they're all would be a bad day at the office to have to deal with any of them. King Bomber got you. That makes a lot more sense. I wish I swear, King, I have tried to kind of look into the rules on this to get it better. But it's just like, it's one of those, if, but this, that, if this, but then that, if this, but then, but this, that, but if this and this, that, but then this, but then that. It's like reading almost an insurance pamphlet where you end up, your eyes start going crossed and you're like, I don't know if I've got more clarity off this. Yeah, Zach Tom got kicked out of practice, King Bomber. I don't know if Jenkins did. Maybe he did too as well. But Tom definitely did. But he's initiating it. And Tom tried to say after practice that he was just like, they were getting into our huddle and they were da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, you look like you're over in the Hawks huddle when you're out there throwing bunches, big guy. Doesn't look like they're in yours. Looks like you're in theirs. Jay Melfer, I'm 6'6", 350, and I wouldn't fight Jones. No, he looks like he's got that, like, just tough inside linebacker, like, you know, I'll knock your head off kind of vibe. I wouldn't mess with him either. No, thank you. Darius Taylor, we were very competitive out there. Also, I hear the Packers were making fun of K9 because he's bald. Shaking my head. Yeah, kind of weird. You guys are weirdos. And he shaved his head. I saw the same thing. Like, that's your trash talking. And DeMondre Lenore does the same thing. It's like, it's weak. That's all you got? That's all you got? And he shaved his head. He's not even bald. Do you guys know what a shaved head is? You know? Half the players in the league back in the Jordan days trying to emulate Jordan had their head shaved. I mean, weirdos. Sean S., how you doing, man? King Bomber, yeah, the Packers sideline was coming to our bench stuff, laughing out to start stuff. That's the other part, King Bombers. Then after the fight, they came over to our bench. Leonard Williams talked about it. Leonard Williams said, I didn't appreciate in general them coming to our sideline while practice was over. We already broke the huddle. Guys are on the side. Their guys are on their side. And people are coming over. It's hard with these joint practices because stuff like this always happens. You don't want it to happen, but it happens. We try to avoid it as much as possible, but I didn't appreciate that. And so what I think happened is that they know they got their egg cracked there in the fight. They lost the fight, right? This is what guys do on this kind of stuff when your pride gets injured. You lost the fight on the field. And so practice is over and now you're trying to, tough yourself back up by walking up over to the sidelines on the Hawks. That's how that felt to me. I know I'm a homer and looking at this with homer eyes, but that's just how it felt with me. JSN was strong today too, Darius. Yeah. Sounds like him and Sam Darnold in particular were just in lockstep and rolling today throughout, which is really cool to hear. King Bomber Lenore and Nixon went to the same high school. Did they really? K9, the main subject of all their chats, laughed my ass off. He broke them apart. Yeah, Lenore's pissed because he got flipped for real. He got flipped. Kenneth Walker showed him what's up, and he didn't have any answer for it. And that guy does way too much yapping for being kind of a mid player to me. You're a slot corner. Slow down. But that makes more sense than the guy Nixon today was talking trash. He's buddy with Lenore, so they're on this whole beat. But dude, it's like I feel like it's the MGK thing. It's like, you got a weird beard. It's like, that's the best you can come up with, guys? Like, that's all you got? Okay. Ooh. Your head shaved. Oh, burn. Jay Melfair, the Arroyo catch was awesome. I'm going to give you a couple angles on it, Jay Melfair. Come on, let's get a couple angles here to finish off the show right today. Look at this thing. Little dart by Darnold. Just picks it right off the back. Darnold picking on the linebacker, not getting his head turned around. Mismatch with Arroyo on the linebacker. One-handed stab. How about another angle nice and close? Let's get this in close slow motion here, huh? Boom, boom, boom. Get those hands down. Just boom, boom, boom. That ball's not moving. That's fully in control. Those are big old oven mitt hands doing that. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, Josh, Tom didn't get kicked out of practice. He got connected with, even with the helmet on. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Oh, Joss Lenore got made a highlight of Genti. Dude is a roadkill till he makes his own highlight. Yeah, he got run over by Genti. I mean, Hulk smashed him. That was Marshawn Lynch-like smashing right there by Genti. And it's going to be interesting. Jesse was talking about Lenore this year. They're going to try the Niners because they lost Ward and their outside corner position's a little light. They're going to try to move him out to outside corner a little bit more this year. I don't think Jesse feels very confident in his ability to play that. He's not like Devin Witherspoon where you can move him in and out. He really is just an inside slot corner. That's the position he's got to play. That is a tight end right there. That's a wide receiver. That's a tight end, not a wide receiver right there. Make him wide receiver kind of play. And those are the kind of mismatches down in the goal line. Jay Melfer, this is what you want to get this year. And how you utilize him is you're going to have him for some little kind of plays that you run him out in to get some mismatches, I think, at times between the 20s. But when you get him down there in the red zone, can you find him mismatched up on a linebacker or on a safety and where he can run past both of them, where he's going to have size more than both of them, and then be able to go attack that mismatch like Darnold did here? And I think the answer is absolutely yes. Doesn't mean he's going to have some just incredible amount of impact year one, but you can find a role where he can be maximally effective. And that's, to me, when you look at rookies that you want long-term to develop into really great players, year one, that's what I'm looking to try to do, is find him some role I can fit him into that they can kind of master that year one, not overload him too much. And then you're getting some instantaneous productivity while they still develop. Riverside says none of the Niner podcasters have any faith. It's slipping away. They're sensing the end is here. And they're seeing it, I think, correctly. This is logical, reasonable, and this is the lifespan of NFL teams that go through Super Bowl windows. That's the other reality of it. And I think that they're sensing that this is coming to play and that, this is the end, my friends. And I think that they know. I'm probably right. Darius says, yeah, that Arroyo catch was phenomenal. Absolutely marvelous catch. And again, Darnold's putting this with some heat on it. That's not coming in just with a little light, pillowy softness that he's like layering the ball in there. That's a dart from 15 yards away that he's bumping that thing in there. And Bomber offensive line can't beat the D line, so they're picking fights against a lower weight group. Laughing my ass off. Amen. Hey, when Derek Hall said, come see me, nobody came to see him. I'll say that to your point. I will say that to your point on that. Yak Monster in red zone. That's right, Melfair. You find some ways, I think, at times you get some big plays up the seam with him here and there. Barner's going to be your meat and potatoes guy. And you can kind of hide Arroyo in that way behind him. But this will be an offense that's going to be the assembly of its parts that makes the greater whole. It's the two-back system with 2 second-round backs. It's a Cooper Kupp and JSN. It's hopefully a Scandling and Horton and how they fit into it. It's also the Barner and Arroyo aspect of this and then how they can be utilized. And everybody kind of is supplying their own bit to this offense to then make it a good offense. Not a great offense maybe, but to make it a better than average offense. If all of these parts can work together. Granted, it's going to take all the parts kind of interoperating between each other a bit here, but I think it's possible. I think it's reasonable. King says the Niners reporter that calls himself objective tweeted more about Sky Moore than how many yards he'll have this year. They're so cooked. Lombardi. I can only imagine how he dressed up this Sky Moore. Former first-round talent at wide receiver now on Niners. Best trade ever? ! Lombardi's over the top, man. He's like how Chat Sports has embraced the clickbait nature of YouTube. Lombardi has embraced the homerism nature of all that can bring for the fruits of that. And he is unabashed. What's weird is he's unabashed, but then he won't own it. Like you say, he then calls himself objective. And you go, I don't know how you're seeing this one, buddy, in that way. Riverside Chiefs hate Sky Moore. They're glad he left. Yeah. Never developed, never became the player they thought he could be. I liked him coming out of college a lot myself too, but look, it's been a disappointment from a pro career as far as Sky Moore goes. It's in a lot of ways he's regressed at times as a wide receiver. Chiefs need wide receivers right now. The Hollywood Browns on the IR, and got one of your guys coming back from major injury, but still happy to move on. Happy to go somewhere else on that one, Riverside. So, yeah. Well, that will wrap us up today. I got a little bit longer in than I thought I was going to go today, but you got some great discussion going with us today, and you guys, and so you always keep me going on that front of it. We're going to go ahead and put a bit of a button on this one. If you can do me a favor, big little favor, but a big favor, big in my heart. And that is if you can hit the like button for me. I wish I could explain this YouTube algorithm. I wish I understood it. In a lot of ways, I think it's a bit like this.
A bird may love a fish, signore, but where would they live?
It's a tough one to figure out and get your head wrapped around, but you can help me get there just a little bit closer by hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and helping me get a little bit closer to that 20,000 mark, which I really want to overtake this year. Get over the top of that and just keep this thing running and rocking and rolling. So if you could for me, hit that like button. We'll help the channel out and get subbed up if you get a chance to as well. I really appreciate it. A couple of other notes and news and notes on this. We've got the Hawks Nest Clips channel that's running strong. I'm trying to get about a video a day out on that channel. A lot of these are coming off of the live stream shows, sometimes able to add a little bit more footage to what we talked about in the live stream with that. But if you're not subbed up over on the Hawks Nest Clips channel, it's a whole separate channel here where I do clips from these live stream shows if you're looking for a little bit of more of the shorter content. As well, taking in the last request for those who want to be a part of the NFL Fantasy League, the Hawks Nest Fantasy League. The winner gets some Hawks Nest swag. No, you don't have to buy your way in. I don't know if we've got a lot of spots remaining, but if you want to reach out to me at heyhawksnest@gmail.com, we can get you guys potentially set up with getting you guys locked on in. You'll be going head-to-head with me. I do participate in the Hawks Nest Fantasy League and love doing it every year. So please do join me over on that side of it. Finally, we'll be back in just 2 days here on Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We got the 1 o'clock last preseason game of the year going down. I'll be doing the play-by-play throughout the context of the day. We got post-game right after the game, too. We'll be rocking and rolling with that as well. So please do join me over here on Saturday as we've got a lot loaded in this upcoming year. I hope you're ready to ride with me. I hope you guys are ready for what I think is going to be a really fun season this year, where our Seattle Seahawks, after a lot of years of just kind of banging up against that roof, that 9-win roof, that 10-win roof, we just can't break through. Are we going to break through? Can we find the consistency to being a great team and not merely above average or almost good? I think this is the year where they're right there on the precipice of being ready to crack through. And I know I've said it a lot, but I wouldn't tell you guys this if I didn't believe it. And I think they are ready for this thing to finally come to bear in the right way. And doesn't mean a Super Bowl title or a Super Bowl run. I don't know on that. But doesn't mean that you're making as much noise as anybody out there in the NFC, I think, throughout the course of this season. I do believe that. So I hope you guys are ready for what is going to be an awesome season, both here at the channel and there with our Seattle Seahawks. I thank you guys for all of the donations and all the support throughout the show, as you guys are just absolutely unbelievable every time I go live. And I really do appreciate it. And as well, I haven't had a chance to thank you guys on this. Thank you guys for helping to make the NFC West Roundtable the biggest roundtable show. I'm bearing a little bit of those leads. Should have brought this up beforehand. We're a channel that was created a little bit later on in the process. First, those channels that have been around for a while, like AFC East Roundtable. And we right now on a viewership count are running past those folks. So you guys watching that, you guys tuning in, you guys' contributions over there, all that good stuff. You're just blowing the channel up. We passed 5,000 subscribers on the NFC West Roundtable. We are cooking over there. Really want to thank you guys for checking out those shows and tuning in on that as well, because you're blowing the Roundtable folks away. They didn't expect us, I don't think, to be doing this well this year, just right out the gate especially. We're just building on the back of the strength of last season. So keep that rocking and rolling too. I would really appreciate it. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Herbicide HHG. You guys have a great night. King Bomber, I hope you're doing great. I'm excited for this season too, man. I'm as excited as I've been in recent years ever before. It just feels like there's less questions than ever before. And it just feels like things have the right energy to them as we built throughout this offseason, we built through training camp, we built through preseason. Even this brawl today is the right energy. It's the right, I don't know. I don't know why I should have sent a poet. I don't know the right word to use here, but it's just that right stuff that you want to see for the team that's going to come in and give you that really great year and give you a little bit of a better brand of football than you've watched recently all the way around. We'll see if it comes together this season. We'll see if it does happen. It's a young team, but I think this team's doing some smart stuff, including in bringing in Kubiak, including bringing Benton, and that you're going to start to feel the benefits of all of these smart decisions stacked up one after another. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate the great discussion. The support's cool, and that's awesome as well, but the great discussion is very much appreciated too, right on the back of that. It's what makes this channel go. I thought I'd go a half hour today. You guys got me almost 3 hours in, and it's because you guys are always bringing the stuff that gets me thinking, gets me laughing, and I just love it. So we will be back in less than 48 hours here with our Seattle Seahawks, hopefully performing a final very nice preseason game. You're going to get 4 quarters of Jaylen Milroe, a good long view of this kid and where he's at right now, what he's going to need to build on, how comfortable he is in this offense, executing all of the details within it. We'll get that great view on Saturday, so come check it out with me. I thank you for watching, but I hope you don't ever forget. I hope you're prepared for a great year for your Seattle Seahawks and that you're not just thinking about, oh, I got to wait a year before I can really connect in on this team. They're still just too young. I don't know what Darnold, I don't know what Kupp. No, you need to be connected right now. So don't you ever forget. Don't you do it. Don't you dare. Every one of you. Go Hawks.